Holiday, so I think wherever you are across the country, traffic volume should be a little bit lighter for you this morning. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It has just gone 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. It is a Monday. This is the 30th of March. My name is Oliver Dixon. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Morning Brief. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be with you this morning. Got a jam-packed show coming up for you this morning. And perhaps the leading question of the morning, I really want to hear your take on this, because this has been touted as some sort of a solution to South Africa's initiation, injuries and death crisis. A lot of boys, often in the winter season and in the summer season at the end of the year, go to the mountains. Many of them fall victim to what are called bogus initiation schools that some say are touted to exploit families financially. And so as a result, what the government has done as per an intervention of policy and legislature is to gazette a standardized pricing for initiation schools. That is to say, there's a uniform price that is paid across all initiation schools, and that if you pay anything outside of that, you'd know that you're dealing with potentially a fly-by-night or a bogus initiation school. Well, that's the logic. The Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosi Hlabisa, has gazetted the regulations pertaining to the price guide for initiation schools. I want to hear from you. Do you think a uniform standardized price for initiates across initiation schools is a solution to the ongoing crisis of boys getting injured and or dying in initiation processes? Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on that. Number is 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Perhaps you want to tweet me this morning. It is at Oliver_speaking on X and Oliver Dixon on Facebook. Find me over there. We're going to be speaking to the Border Management Authority Commissioner, Dr. Michael Masiapato. And this, of course, is on the Border Management Authority gearing up for what is going to be a very busy Easter travel period, particularly across the Libombo border post into Mozambique and the Beitbridge border post into Zimbabwe. Interestingly, though, is that since President Ramaphosa has deployed the military into civilian areas to deal with an ongoing gang violence problem, the president, of course, announced that during the State of the Nation address, and the military has been operationalized in places like Mitchell's Plain and across the Cape Flats, and even in Gauteng. 2 weeks ago, we saw military, what was seemingly like military blitz across neighborhoods such as Rosettenville, as well as Eldorado Park. But the question is, and the effect of that has been that it's taken military resources away from border protection. Border military, their resources, vehicles, equipment are now being used in civilian areas. Does this bring about a concern that the military border police would not be sufficiently equipped to handle the influx of travel? But it was a very interesting December period watching the intervention there by the Border Management Authority and the number of arrests that have taken place of what were called border human smugglers. You go to the border, you say, I don't have a passport, I want to get into South Africa, and these people smuggle you across the border. Many of them had been intercepted as a result of the use of drone technology. We'll talk about the successes of that and whether or not that campaign will continue. Look, we have a lot more to talk about. Dr. Poppy Ramathuba became only the second woman in the ANC to be elected as a provincial chairperson of the ANC. She joins us just after 7 o'clock. That's going to be an interesting conversation. And of course, the ANC Elective Conference in the Eastern Cape, that never really took off after that High Court interim interdict judgment that was passed down last week. And of seemingly an attempt to have a contempt of court application passed through when it looked like the conference may go ahead. despite that court order. So much more to unpack pertaining to the ANC and the machinations over there, and I want you to be a part of that conversation as well. So once again, give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. It's 11 minutes after 6.
SABC2 is bringing the heat. New shows, new faces, and stories that hit home, like the one I'm in called Pimple. And that's where you can catch me, Michelle Masalakai, every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Live in every beat, the pulse of SA.
This Human Rights Month, we commemorate a significant milestone, the Bill of Rights at 30, making human dignity real. For 3 decades, South Africa's constitution has been a beacon of equality, freedom and justice for all. Yet dignity is not just written in our constitution, it must be lived, protected and upheld every single day. Join SAFM as we unpack the issues that matter, elevate voices driving change, and reflect on the progress we've made while confronting the work that still lies ahead. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
In business, the right connections change everything. It's the stability you need for that once-in-a-lifetime virtual pitch, the lightning-fast speeds that keep you ahead of deadlines, and the consistent, high-quality signal your teams rely on every day. Because when your connectivity works seamlessly, so does your business. Power your workday with fast, reliable fiber connection from OpenServe, built to keep your operations running at full speed. Visit www.openserve.co.za today and learn more. T's and C's apply.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program, evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
Penultimate day of the month, the 30th of May. March, rather, not May. My goodness. And we take a look at your weather this morning. We start out with a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms, accompanied by heavy downpours, lightning, hail, and damaging winds, resulting in localized flooding and damage to settlements and infrastructure. That is expected over the western parts of KwaZulu-Natal this morning. Otherwise, in your indicators, we expect morning fog patches in places. Otherwise, partly cloudy weather with scattered showers and thunder showers in Johannesburg, in Pretoria rather, with a maximum of 30 and a low of 16. In Johannesburg, we expect a high of 27 with similar conditions to Pretoria. Vereeniging will be partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, a maximum a high there of 27. Mbombela will be reaching a high of 28. Also partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers. In Polokwane, you can expect a high of 27. Similar conditions to the interior of the country, partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers. Similar conditions in Mahikeng, a high of 29 in Mahikeng and a high of 27 in Polokwane. Vryburg will be the same with a high of 28 there. Similarly, in Kimberley, with a high of 30. Uppington will be reaching a high of 33 under the same conditions, as well as Cape Town, which will be fine for the most part, a high of 25 expected there. Staying with the coast, George will be reaching a high of 22. with partly cloudy weather with morning fog patches. You can expect a light and variable wind in the morning. Otherwise, light to moderate southeasterly to easterly expected there. Gqeberha will be reaching a high of 23. Cloudy with light evening rain. You can expect a moderate easterly wind there. East London with a moderate easterly wind as well. A high of 25 in East London. Cloudy with light morning and evening rain. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated evening showers and thunder showers. A high of 28 there with a light to moderate northeasterly to easterly wind expected there. Richards Bay will be reaching a high of 29, partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain. A light southerly to southwesterly becoming light easterly to northeasterly from the late morning expected in Richards Bay, while Pietermaritzburg will be reaching a high of 27. You can expect morning and evening fog patches, otherwise cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers expected in Pietermaritzburg. That is your weather.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
A space where generations come together in conversation that seek to spark curiosity, inspire innovation, and feed the curious mind. For arts, culture, and robust conversations, join me every weekday between 1 and 3 p.m. on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga as we explore the stories, lessons, and conversations that guide us back to self.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
It is 17 minutes after 6 o'clock. There's no longer a brief in brief, but we do have some time to take your engagements this morning. Give us a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. That is the number to dial. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. The morning, the question I lead with this morning is, do you think that the newly signed standardized pricing by the Minister of Cooperative Governance, Velenkosi Nihlabisa, for initiation schools across the country will be able to circumvent what is an ongoing, persistent and stubborn problem of initiates dying and getting injured as a result of what they describe as the operation of bogus and fly-by-night initiation schools who are using it as an opportunity to exploit families? Let's go to the lines. Ngango, I don't know where you're calling us from, Ngango, but good morning. You're calling us from Mpumalanga. Good morning. Go for it.
Hi, Oliver. The name is Ngango Mshaba. Oliver, I think one of the mistakes we have with our leaders is that they always think that there's a fit-for-all solution for the problems we're facing as a country. For example, I've been in Mpumalanga. I've been staying here for the past, I think, 8 years now, but I'm originally from the Eastern Cape. I went to the mountains because that's another thing. We don't have an initiation school in the Eastern Cape. We go to the mountains. And I've also studied a bit here in Mpumalanga, part of Bushbuckridge and the former Kwandebele areas where the boys go into mountains. So the difference is in Mpumalanga, where that is your Kwandebele area of Bushbuckridge, you have hundreds of boys, up to 1,000, which go to a mountain under the watch of a certain traditional leader. Now in Eastern Cape, each family sends their boy to the mountain. Whether it's one boy, I went to the mountain alone in those years, over 3 years ago. Now, to try and curb the fee that is being charged by the initiative, it's not going to solve the problem. And I'm going to speak in the context of the Eastern Cape because that's where I can relate.
Yeah.
The problem is the elders have handed the practice into young boys. So you find a boy who went to the mountain last year is now responsible for the boys this year. What does he know? He's not a man himself. He can't even wash his underwear. He can't even dress properly. He's not a man. You need elderly people to be the ones who are taking control of what happens. That's what is killing the boys. The boys are not being killed because they want to initiate or doctors that is you want our friend. The problem is that they did.
Oh, your line's cutting there. But I get the gist of the point, and I think it's a brilliant intervention to make that oftentimes it matters who leads the school, who heads up the school, and that young, inexperienced boys in the school obviously can't be the ones operating it. And one would imagine that they need an apprenticeship of sort before they begin to be the ones that exercise circumcisions. That's something I'll put to the minister when we speak to him a little bit later on in this hour. Thank you so much for that. Again, I'll take some of your reactions, 086 000 2032. Well, many of you have been filling up your gas tanks because you think South Africa's running out of fuel. And that's been causing quite a problem. But is it really the case? And what is the circumstances and conditions in the Strait of Hormuz? Very importantly, it is the Houthis that have now gotten involved from Yemen. Could that exacerbate an already existing security crisis in the Strait of Hormuz? And will that trickle down to countries such as South Africa, who's not really involved? Well, we speak about that crisis with Tembisa Fakude.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Tembisa Fakude is the Director at Africa-Asia Dialogues and a global governance expert. Tembisa, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Look, there have been efforts to de-escalate the tensions in the Middle East, with Pakistan hosting a high-level discussion involving countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and as well as Egypt. Is Pakistan a fit and proper interlocutor in this?
Well, for these peoples, I think they are. But of course, Pakistan is also not a corrupt country run by an almost dictator. But there's a hope, at least in the Middle East, that they will do something in terms of coming down the situation in the Middle East. We know that the Iranians are not part of this. Iranians continue to dig in terms of refusing to negotiate with Donald Trump because they have been disappointed in the past twice. They've been negotiating with the United States and they were getting bombed. And we hear now, while these negotiations are taking place, that there's a build-up of military presence with possibility of ground troops being deployed in Iran. So again, we are back to the same situation whether it was last year, June, when the United States attacked Iran while negotiating, or this time around, the 20th of February, when they decided to kill Ali Khamenei while they were negotiating with Iran.
Yeah. Let's then talk about who's part of this discussion, Saudi Arabia. And this is a country, of course, that is an important ally to the United States of America. But yet it seems that MBS has not been able to win over Donald Trump's sensibilities in this. In fact, just last week, addressing a gathering, Donald Trump was quite belligerent towards MBS.
Oh yeah, the countries that are involved in this, of course, they're involved because of the proximate position or geographical proximate position to Iran, not because they can achieve any peace in the region. All of them are tainted, at least perhaps except Turkey, but large part of them, including Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Pakistan has got Imran Khan in jail. Saudi Arabia killed Jamal Khashoggi and dissolved his body in Essen in Turkey. So these are not really countries that you can trust that they've got the interest of their people at heart. It's all economics. And I think that's why they were dragged into these discussions. And hopefully there is hope as well, whether that's good or bad, that they might form the new alliance of the reconfigured military arrangement in the region. So I think that's why they're having this discussion. But we hope that Iran will soon join, but we know for sure at the moment that there is no direct negotiations that involves Iran with the United States.
Yeah, and the Yemeni paramilitary group, the Houthis, they have previously, by the way, caused havoc in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, when they did that, particularly against Israel, it was as a protest towards the ongoing genocide of the Palestinians in Israel. And that's how the Houthis have fashioned themselves out, and their involvement in causing some sort of blockade in the Strait of Hormuz and, of course, various parts of the Middle East. But their involvement now, what is it positioned as?
Well, the Houthis are in the Red Sea, so they are likely to block the Bab el-Mandeb, which is another choke point in the Red Sea, which will prevent ships traveling from the east to west using the Suez Canal. So this might also agitate the Egyptians who are, benefiting from the from the Suez. But if that does happen, then we're in big problem in terms of economics, because the 15% of world trade goes through Bab el-Mandeb, and if that strait is shut, or that passage of water is shut, then we're going to have a problem, because it means that most maritime traffic will have to come around the Cape of Good Hope if going to the west, and the western traffic will also have to come again, via Cape of Good Hope. It could be an opportunity for South Africa, but unfortunately, I don't think we're fit for purpose, nor our ports ready to be dealing with this traffic and opportunities coming our way. So if the Houthis if the Houthis they've already started, they've sent two missiles to Israel. If that war intensifies, then we are likely to see a much more serious situation. Israel is yet to respond to those ballistic missiles that were sent by the Houthis. But right now they're facing war on various fronts in Lebanon, pushing back the fighters of Hezbollah. You have them fighting Iranians now. There's Houthis, and there's also reports that there is a very serious element of exhaustion of the Israeli soldiers, most of whom are unwilling to join this war because of that war that they've undertaken of genocide in Gaza. So it's a big challenge for the Israelis, and of course they're being bankrupt because all of these projectiles that are sent from three directions are exhausting the interceptors, and it's a very expensive war in trying to defend and using this Iron Dome to fend off the projectiles that are coming either from Yemen or from the Iranians and Lebanon.
Yeah, just for clarity, the positionality of the Houthis are not that they are a state actor, it's that they're a paramilitary group, often described by the United States and nation states in the Middle East as a terrorist organization. Who funds and supports the Houthis?
Well, we know that the reason why they've joined this war is because they have a relationship with Iran, and Iran has been helping them, amongst other things. But at the moment, they are managing the very lucrative coasts of Yemen and the Red Sea. So there is some money that's been derived from that management. But the large amount of money comes from Iran in terms of support. And they, of course, have been fighting Saudi Arabia since 2015 when Saudi Arabia decided to go and invade and try and install the government in Yemen. So they've been fighting off Saudi Arabia and other countries that joined Saudi Arabia, including United Arab Emirates, Qatar at some point. And Qatar had to pull out, of course, in 2017 when the blockade started in the Gulf. So they are getting a lot of support from Iran, and this is why they've joined in now in support of Iran.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Tempest, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Tempest Avakude is with the Africa-Asia Dialogues and a global governance expert talking to us there on the latest in the Middle East. Zai, standing by with your latest in sports.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
My goodness, Zai, big updates there by CAF. Just as the Senegalese are on a world tour starting in France with that trophy.
Oliver, CAF and controversy. Name a more consistent duo. I'll wait. I'll listen on the radio. But anyway, yes, the Confederation of African Football thrown into a fresh turmoil now. And this after their General Secretary, Baron Mosengo Oboma, announced his resignation. His exit comes amid major controversy with Senegal stripped of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title. And the women's tournament now postponed at the last minute. Now, the CAF competitions director, Samson Adamo, will step in as acting Secretary General while the Court of Arbitration for Sport considers Senegal's appeal against the decision to award the title to Morocco. Let's bring it closer to home. Bafana defender Imi Ocon says he felt comfortable in his last appearance under coach Hugo Bruges, and that was during Friday's 1-1 draw against Panama in Durban. Although he had previously featured at COSAFA Cup level, the clash marked his first real chance to impress.
Yeah, it was good, I think we played very well. Just a lapse of concentration from us, but besides that, I think we dominated the whole game, and we just need to keep working hard and we'll see what the future holds.
Just women's sensation Kayla Reniker was short for words after another day to remember in the green and gold, this time making her ODI debut for South Africa. The 20-year-old scooped the player of the match, gong, and that's in the first of 3 matches against New Zealand in Christchurch, where she contributed 42 runs and held her nerve to hit 2 sixes in the final over.
Just trying to take it all in. I mean, ODI debut again. Debut again. Yeah, it was a pretty special moment. I mean, obviously it was very stressful, but I think when you stay as calm as possible in the moment, nothing is impossible.
That's your sport. Swing back for more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola says he will cooperate with the courts in connection with the 360 million rand Medicare 24 Tshwane district matter. Masemola has been summoned to appear in court on the 21st of April over the contract which was awarded to alleged criminal cartel member Vuzumuzi Cat Matlala to provide health services to the SAPS. The South African Communist Party has attributed the booing of some of its leaders at ANC events as a result of the utterances and conduct of some senior leaders of its alliance partner regarding its decision to go at elections independently. And US President Donald Trump says he wants to take the oil in Iran and could seize Karg Island, through which most Iranian oil is exported. He was speaking to the media as thousands of US ground troops make their way to the Middle East. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Our top story remains the protest action down at Brooks Neck. There will be some disruption there between Kokstad and Mount Aleph as authorities deal with that protest, which has been underway since early hours this morning. And there is quite a backlog of traffic moving through that area. I'll keep you up to date with that. It looks a little bit lighter than it had been earlier this morning. So maybe there's been some progress towards clearance. But just a heads up, it is underway. Some protest action this Monday morning. Away from that, looking pretty busy on the highway networks around Joburg going north. Queues on the N3 at Sprayview. Queues on the N3 north into Heldnace. That's the roadworks. R59 north queuing at Michelle Avenue. Mike 1 north Boyson through Empire is already jam-packed. And queues coming in from Lenasia and Protea Glen this morning on the N12 up towards the Golden Highway exit to Eldorado Park. And fairly busy as well for school holiday period on the M1 south through Midrand. There's a bit of pressure heading down towards the New Road exit. Cape Town, the N2 inbound passing Khayelitsha, a breakdown before the R300 causing a delay. And already just queuing up over the elevated freeway as you hit the CBD area. Looks like an obstruction on that foreshore freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
It is 33 minutes after 6 o'clock, 27 minutes to the top of the hour. Ndauleng Lichela's with us for the business update this morning. Ndauleng, you start off with a very interesting, what they call peptide, a GLP-1. Is this the peptide that Ket Matlala got for Captain Sentumul?
I don't know about that, but I can tell you it's the peptide that one of the JSC companies, Aspen, has been approved to sell in the country. But
how much does it cost? Darling, I know you know these things. And for those who don't know, GLP-1 as a peptide is what we typically and I think colloquially refer to as Ozempic.
Yes. So Ozempic, of course, is the brand name owned by the Danish company Novo Nordisk. Eli Lilly, in the meantime, what we're talking about, owns Mounjaro, which is also becoming more and more popular. They cost around 2,000, 3,000 rands, around that price.
Is that, and this is 2,300 for how does the dosage system work?
So you get, you'll get like a 0.5 dosage, 1 dosage, 1.5% dosage, and these come in like an injection, right?
Okay.
And then you can get for like a month's use, you'll get it for around your 3,000 rand.
So if I want to lose 10 kgs, I need several doses, I would assume.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Darling, you know a lot about this. Are you on Ozempic, my sister?
I'm not on Ozempic, Oliver.
Okay.
We're getting a little personal. Let's get
No,
to the
no, no, no.
story.
We must start a commission of inquiry and find out because apparently that's how criminals buy favor these days. Well, tell us about this merger.
Yeah. So Eli Lilly, known for its GLP-1 drug like Mounjaro, is deepening its push into AI, signing a $2.75 billion deal with Insilico Medicine to commercialize drugs developed using AI. Now, Insilico has developed more than 28 drugs using generative AI, with nearly half already in clinical stages. Insilico says the technology allows for faster drug discovery and molecule development compared to traditional methods. Now, for Eli Lilly, the deal strengthens its pipeline by combining its clinical capabilities with AI driven innovation. The move highlights a broader industry shift as pharma giants partner with AI focused biotech firms to accelerate development and improve efficiency in bringing new treatments to the market.
Well, let's take a look at a different merger and a lot of M&A action that you're looking at. And this one is very interesting. Spirits maker Pernod Ricard, they're in talks with Brown-Forman. This one's interesting given that Pernod Ricard has been struggling, so to speak, under the weight of what has been the Heineken merger in South Africa.
Yeah, that's right, Oliver. Francis Pernod in talks with U.S. whiskey and tequila producer Brown-Forman. Now, the deal would combine Pernod's international distribution and portfolio with Brown-Forman's American whiskey and tequila offerings like Jack Daniels, potentially generating up to $450 million in annual cost savings and strengthening their position against market leader Diageo. Now, analysts caution the merger faces unique challenges. The Brown family, which controls a majority of Brown-Forman, has a long history of resisting takeovers, while the Ricard family holds a smaller, more hands-on stake in Pernod. Questions over leadership, headquarters, and potential premiums could complicate negotiations. The talks, of course, come amid a prolonged slowdown in global spirits sales, underscoring how consolidation may potentially be a key strategy for legacy brands seeking scale and resilience in a challenging market.
Yeah, we had an interesting meeting by the MPC last week and the markets reacted to that. Are we still seeing the effects of that tripling through the markets?
We are still seeing that playing out. Another week of negative trade, Oliver, with the JSE closing last week in the red, the all share shedding 0.95%. We are seeing most of the losses over in the local bourse led by the Resources 10 complex as there's a sell-off in precious metal prices fueled by the war out in the Gulf region. That, of course, also sending oil prices higher. Oil this morning up 2% to $115 a barrel. And then looking at what's playing out over in the US, those markets also closed in negative territory last week. The tech-heavy NASDAQ leading those losses down over 2% due to the risk-off mood fueled by the war in the Middle East. That also keeping gains kept over in Asia, with stocks on that front opening mixed. And then looking at currency markets, the rand remains under pressure at 17.10 to the dollar, 22.69 to the pound, and 19.69 to the euro.
Darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Darling joins us again in the second hour. If you want to know where to get Ozempic or Mounjaro, give her a call. Maybe she'll tell you. 086 000 2032. I actually do want to know, are these drugs effective? They're drugs designed to treat people who have diabetes. And somehow the secondary effect of it is tremendous weight loss. But I've heard of people who've gone on it and haven't experienced the rapid weight loss, and in fact are living with side effects that that makes their lives a lot more difficult. Please share your Ozempic story with us if you've been on it, perhaps as an Ozempic, as a diabetic patient, or someone who's just trying to lose weight. I know it's a sensitive thing, so you can do it anonymously. Give us a call, send us that WhatsApp voice note. The number is 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. It's 20 minutes before 7. Advocate Sipho Mantula standing by with the Africa Update.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Good morning, Advocate Mandula. We start out in Brazzaville this morning in the Congo, where the Constitutional Court has confirmed Sassou Nguesso's re-election with 95% this past weekend.
Refreshing morning, Oliver, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Oliver, you'll recall that on the 15th of March, Congo Brazzaville, it was presidential elections which had to be confirmed by the Court immediately after the dispute resolution has been winded. And you will recall that many they've been going to the courts, but the court rejected those presidential disputes. Now, it was over the weekend where the head of the court, Agosti Iloki, confirming the 95% overwhelmingly percentage that gave President Denis Sassou Nguesso a new 5-year term for almost 4 decades at the age of 82. Now, this is also strengthening all those longer-serving presidents. Oliver, you'll recall Equatorial Guinea, Obiang Nguema. You'll go to Cameroon, President Paul Biya. So these are the presidents who have been holding the presidential seat for many years. Now, Congo Brazzaville confirming their current president as a state.
Yeah, Benin, they're about 2 weeks away from their polls.
Benin decides on the 12th of April, Oliver, next month, just a few weeks from now, and they have kick-started their presidential campaign. You'll recall there was an alleged coup around December. President Talon has served his 2 terms. Now he's moving out. The incumbent is alleged to be a finance minister, Wadakani, who's a strong favorite to win. But the opposition also, Paul Hunkep, this is the guy also who's contesting. So there are 2 horse race now here, Oliver, that we see in Benin, in Porto Novo, that will happen next month. These elections are key. Like I said, that there was a attempted military coup last year, and there's also the issue that Benin sits on the belt of what I call the Al-Qaeda jihadists that are operating in Ouagadougou and in Niamey. So it's very tight, Oliver, when you have elections in Benin, and at the same time, we have a conflict still simmering in the Sahel region.
Yeah. And going to Senegal, there's a UN Secretary General debate going on there where the Senegalese government have not endorsed Macky Sall.
Oliver, you will understand Guterres is leaving by end of this year, 2026. Yeah. Now, by next year, on the 20th of April, they have to be a recommended candidate. Now, this candidate coming from the African continent, Macky Sall, coming from Senegal. Now, the permanent representative of Senegal in the AU saying that, but we have not endorsed Macky Sall, even if the AU is calling all member states to rally their support towards Macky Sall for this candidacy for Secretary General. And that shows the tensions that have been there. You will recall that Macky Sall has been in tension with Ousmane Sonko, with Faye. They were arrested before the elections in 2024. There have been tensions around corruption in that country that Macky Sall has been involved. And that's why you find that that tension shows you that the member state where the man is coming from is not being supported, but the international body, the AU, supporting his candidacy to the UN General Secretary post. And that's where you see, Oliver, the tensions that we will always see in all those positions when they are going up there. But it seems Senegal will not relent.
Yeah. Sticking with the United Nations, in our historical archives, it is the UN Security Council who today in 1960 began very important deliberations that shaped you and I's future.
That's quite true. 66 years ago, Oliver, it was just 9 days after Sharpeville massacre that the UN had to begin the engagement at the Security Council under the agenda entitled "The Situation Arising Out of the Large-Scale Killings of Unarmed and Peaceful Demonstrators Against Racial Discrimination and Segregation in the Union of South Africa. Oliver, it took almost 5 years for the UN to can declare 21 March actually to call it the International Day of Elimination of Racial Discrimination. So it was very important for the UN to urgently and with emergency to deal with the apartheid situation during that time. But like I said, they were dragging their feet, Oliver. It took 5 years. 1966, that's where they started to recognize. The late Miriam Makeba went to the UN in 63 and 64. He went in 76. He was always engaged in the UN on issues of the apartheid question. Asante sana, Oliver, as was leading the true conversation, SAFM observing the Sharpeville Massacre months.
Yeah, that's Advocate Sipho Mandula. I'm taking your calls and reactions on the other side of the 086 000 2032. Well, it's almost Easter travel time, and South African borders experience a lot of pressure over that period. Are they ready? Given, of course, that the president has taken some of their resources away to be used in civilian interventions by the military. Dr. Mike Masiapato joins us on the other side of this.
Color Your Plate enters a new phase this Sunday evening at 7 as the winning contestants from the first 6 episodes now return as duos for the very first time, cooking side by side with their stirrings. Their challenge to create a dish that combines and celebrates their heritage and to prove they can work together under pressure. Which duo will stand out and show they have what it takes to go all the way? Find out on Color Your Plate, Sundays at 7, repeat Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. only on SABC2.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, you might be thinking of school holidays. I might go a little bit later, but if you're coming in with that sort of thing in mind from the southern side of Joburg, it's going to catch you out this morning. It is busy. It looks fairly standard, actually. Good indicator of that is the Mike 1 from Boyson through to Oxford Road. No lightening of the pressure there. That is very slow getting up through Crown. Behind it, the M2 pushes back to Joe Slovo. The N3 queuing at Spruitview up towards Heidelberg Road, and then through Ilan's, all jammed up into those lane restrictions around Heldenace. R59 joining in with queues as you work up towards Michelle Avenue as well. So it's pretty much a full house of delays coming in from that southeastern sort of side of Joburg. Also, a crash on the N12 in misty conditions this morning, heading through Germiston, Edenvale out towards Boksburg. The crash is on the N12 eastbound by Jet Park, and there is a considerable build-up of traffic there. Also, the N1, if you're leaving it too late to get in, that's going to catch you out. It's very slow this morning from Brockfontein all the way down to about New Road before you're out of it. And the mighty Montbody Highway on the brakes in the low gears from Theo Martins around the bend all the way down slowly to join into Eskia and Purfley. It's got the sort of feel that the traffic lights might be out, or there might be some issue there. Durban, the N2 northbound queuing to Westwood Mall. You'd expect that, but what's going on the southbound is a surprise. Heavy backlogs coming through from Umgena Road in Nunda side, heading down towards 4 level. That is all jammed up. Also a bit of pressure on the N2 north, heading up into Gateway, which will hold you up slightly towards the airport area. Cape Town, busy coming in from Khayelitsha. There's a breakdown on the N2 before the R300, and then it just stays busy right through to about Borchard's Quarry territory. And the elevated freeway looks like an obstruction there on the foreshore, just backlogging traffic approaching the city centre. There is a massive cruise ship in at the harbour, the MS Opera, so there may be a little bit of onlooking perhaps at that, slowing things down into the city centre. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
It is 10 minutes to 7 o'clock this morning. We're in conversation now with the Border Management Authority Commissioner, Dr. Mike Masiapato. The Border Management Authority, of course, has to gear up for what will be a very busy Easter travel period. Dr. Masiapato, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We saw new interventions being piloted at the Beitbridge border post over the December period. The use of drone technology helped quite a bit in assisting the BMA to intercept those who were trying to cross the border illegally. A number of important arrests were being made there by some of those syndicate leads who smuggle people across the border. Can we and should we expect similar efforts over the Easter period?
Yes, indeed, Oliver, and we appreciate the opportunity. Based on the experience, remember we started piloting some of these key technologies during this time, last year. Now we have actually used them at that time, and we used them during December, January. So on that basis, we are very much stable and very much grounded. Indeed, you will be seeing a lot of those kind of interceptions. But one thing that is very much fundamental, Oliver, and I think that is a fundamental issue to assess whether there is progress or not, is the fact that the technology presents a very serious deterrent, to the extent that even when you look at the statistical view, historically to the current, there has been less and less people attempting to enter the country illegally or even attempting to leave the country illegally, primarily because people are mainly getting aware that they are actually being checked through the iBed view, in the form of drones. And that has been fairly demonstrated by the manner in which we have been able to take down a lot of facilitators, because most people would not necessarily go into the bushes by themselves. They are mainly facilitated. But with most of the facilitators now being in our facilities, they're in police stations, they're going through the court systems, that has started to reduce the numbers of people come through, because we are actually taking down most of those facilitators, which we don't deport, by the way. We take them
that's a very interesting
police.
That's a very interesting change in strategy. Instead of deporting the facilitators back to, say, Zimbabwe, the BMA have decided to arrest them in South Africa at the Musina police station and then prosecute them in South Africa, and I assume imprison them in South Africa, because there are important links between those who want to cross the border illegally and officials who may be corrupted officials at border posts. How successful has that strategy proven?
Yeah, you see, Oliver, that has been a very successful strategy. And by the way, it has purely been facilitated by drones. And I want to be very practical. Initially, without drones, you will find that we just do normal patrols and you go intercept like 10 individuals.
Yeah.
And mainly when you intercept people in that manner, we then get them arrested, we take them through to the port, we take their fingerprint, and then we, in a way, process them, we V-list them, ban them not to re-enter the country for the next 5 years. Then we deport all of them. And then after you have deported all of them, the facilitators in the afternoon, they're back in business, facilitating other people. Then when you intercept another group in the afternoon, but there is this common denominator, meaning the same person that you intercepted earlier, only to find that they are facilitators and we did not know. Now, with the drone, what it does is we are then able to monitor as they move, and we could see the facilitator mostly in front and the other one will be at the back. They're busy on the phones. They're busy then channeling them through the bushes. And at the same time, they interface with the travelers, with the transporters on the corridor to make sure that they are ready to receive the client, in a way, the people and all of that. So we then monitor them through the drones. Then we know when we intercept, this one is a facilitator, we open a case for aiding and abetting according to the Immigration Act. They definitely have to serve. In South Africa, we don't deport those.
Yeah. Just a last question in 30 seconds on this. President Ramaphosa has deployed the military now in civilian areas, taking away some resources from border military operations. How will that affect operations over the Easter period?
No, that is not necessarily going to be affecting the operations, particularly the work of Operation Corona, mainly because those ones had always been separated from the conventional military. So those that had been deployed by the president inside the country are mainly coming from the other side of the military.
They have to use vehicles and weaponry and arsenal and other equipment to be able to operate, which they short on. Some of those, that's coming from border military?
Sure. You see, Oliver, from where we sit, we have not got any indication from the military that the team that has been deployed in terms of border management will be affected. We didn't get that indication. Even in terms of the numbers that they've just augmented now for the purposes of the Easter operation across the borders, there hasn't been any indication that they are actually affected. Because remember, there are over 78,000, and in the borders we have around 2,000. So that has always been consistent. And on that basis, we don't necessarily think there will be any major impact in terms of their assistance to us in as far as border law enforcement is concerned.
Dr. Masiapato, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Dr. Mike Masiapato is the Border Management Authority Commissioner. I want to start and jump straight into this conversation with the Minister of Cooperative Governance, Velenkosi Nihlabisa. This is on the Minister having signed and gazetted a new standardized fees for initiation schools across South Africa's 9 provinces. Minister, is this going to make the bogus initiation school problem go away?
Good morning, my brother, as well as the listeners of the radio station. This is an intervention, firstly, that wants to deal with the exploitation and commercialization of the customary initiation, because some people are abusing this right to passage from boyhood to manhood by exploiting and charging exorbitantly. Most of these people are those who are running bogus initiation schools because they don't follow any law. But even in the registered schools, we want to standardize the pricing so that in a province, because this culture differs from one province to the other, as well as the number of days the boys stay there. Now, we are standardizing along each province in relation to how they practice the culture so that there is no exploitation and this customary initiation is not commercialized.
Well, Minister, you wrote the policy and signed into law the framework of standardization, but you're not the price setter. Who then actually sets the price for the initiation schools?
We give the parameters. And you will rightly know, my brother, even if you go through, because this is a medical procedure in a true sense, but it is done traditionally. If you go for a medical procedure, you can only pay a standard price if it is a government institution. But if you go to private institution, the price differs. That is why we standardize it by putting parameters per province, and the parents, once they see this is too exorbitant beyond the parameters, it is up to them, one, not to go there, or to report that this is exploitation.
Yeah. And just lastly, what are the repercussions for registered schools who operate outside the standardized framework of pricing?
For everyone, registered and unregistered, who charge exorbitant prices, because for unregistered school, before closing them down, we will prosecute them for disobeying what should have been the proper charge within parameters. The legal schools, those who are going beyond parameters, it will become an offense criminally, because you will be commercializing this customary initiation, what we are trying to regulate.
What is a fair price, Minister?
It will differ from province to province, my brother. As I indicated, in some provinces, they stay a shorter time. In some provinces, they stay a longer time. In some provinces, parents contribute towards meals. In some provinces, they do not allow contributions from meals. So now it will vary. In some areas, it will be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. It will depend on the provincial scenario. And the parents are aware as to why we differ from another province because they are heavily involved in this customary initiation, and they also share the experiences. It is easy to determine that this is too expensive, and that is why we are publicizing the parameters so that people should know. As we are approaching the winter school, we want to control the pricing.
Yeah. Minister Hlabisa, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really do appreciate it. As the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa, I'm taking your reaction to that. Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Do you think that is a solution to the ongoing rampant crisis of bogus operators is in initiation schools over the winter and summer initiation periods? We're heading towards the winter initiation period. Do you think that solves the problem and that the price is set at a provincial level? What's your thoughts on that? 086 000 2032. It's a minute after 7 o'clock. Let's take your latest news bulletin.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Masimula pledges cooperation in Medicare 24 matter, and SACP condemns booing during ANC Limpopo conference. Good morning. The National Police Commissioner General Fani Masimula says he will cooperate with the courts in connection with the 360 million rand Medicare 24 Tshwane district matter. Masimula has been summoned to appear in court on the 21st of April over the contract which was awarded to alleged criminal cartel member Vuzimuzi Kat Matlala to provide health services to the SAPS. At least 12 police officers have already appeared in court on charges including fraud, corruption and contravening the Public Finance Management Act. Masimula says he's done nothing wrong.
I have not been charged. I receive a summon to appear in court, which anybody now and then do receive. And as far as if you ask me if I done anything wrong, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I cancelled the contract and I followed other processes, and that's how far I want to take it.
5 suspects are expected to appear before the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today in connection with the kidnapping and murder of Stephen Grootz, a senior researcher at the South African Institute of International Affairs. Gauteng police say the arrest took place following a joint operation involving SAPS, JMPD and community security groups. The spokesperson Tintswalo Sibeko says Grootz disappeared on Thursday and was found dead 2 days later.
Police have opened a case of murder on Saturday, 28 March 2026. 5 suspects have been arrested within the GP policing precinct and are expected to appear before the Johannesburg Magistrate Court on Monday, 30th March 2026. Investigations are ongoing.
5 people have been killed in a car crash on the R45 between Hopefield and Langebaanweg on the Cape West Coast. The Western Cape Minister of Mobility, Isaac Seleku, says 3 men and 2 women died on the scene last night. 3 others were rushed to hospital. He says the survivors were wearing their seat belts at the time of the incident.
Early indications suggest that reckless overtaking may have contributed to this crash. I strongly urge motorists only overtake when it is safe to do so. This incident is also a reminder that seatbelts save lives. Wearing a seatbelt significantly reduces the risk of fatal injury, whether you are in the front or back seat. The fact that the survivors were wearing seatbelts may have helped prevent further loss of life.
The South African Communist Party has attributed the booing of some of its leaders at ANC events as a result of the utterances and conduct of some senior leaders of its alliance partner regarding its decision to contest elections independently. The Communist Party's General Secretary Solly Mapahila's reaction comes after the SACP representative was booed by ANC delegates while delivering message of support during the Limpopo elective conference. Relations between the alliance partners have been strained since the SACP announced that it will contest elections independently. Mapahela says this conduct is concerning, especially from its alliance partner, the ANC.
I've been booed several times. I've been booed in front of senior leaders of the ANC. It's not a new thing. I think what is worrying are the statements from senior ANC leaders that are fueling this hostility and belligerent attitude towards the SACP, as if the SACP is an enemy of the ANC. And it's not the case. Almost 99% of our members belong to the ANC. So when you attack the ANC and the SACP from the ANC side, you are attacking yourself, or you are attacking your own members.
And finally, US President Donald Trump has suggested seizing Iran's oil in Kag Island, through which most Iranian oil is exported. He was speaking to the media as thousands of US ground troops make their way to the Middle East. The US-Israel war on Iran has sent oil prices surging by more than 50% in a month. Trump has, however, said that a deal could still be reached with Iran.
If you would have said that in 3 days we were going to knock out 158 ships, their entire Navy, which we did, we knocked out their entire Air Force. We knocked out most of their missiles. That's why you see missile attacks when they're down to, they're sputtering. And we have a group, it's really a new regime. It's a new group of people that we've never dealt with before, that are acting very reasonable.
Recapping the top story, the National Police Commissioner, General Fani Masemola, says he will cooperate with the courts in connection with the 360 million rand Medicaid 24 Tshwane district matter. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like being on the opposite side of a traffic jam. 63-year-old Almero saves a mind-blowing 417 rand on his 2021 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 rand or 1,500 rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Cricket action. 20-year-old Kayla Reiniger announcing herself in style, smashing a winning six on debut to seal a sensational finish for the Proteas. And in Formula One, 19-year-old Kimi Antonelli storming to victory in Japan. All the details around 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We kick it off in Pretoria with some heavy backlogging on the mighty Mopani Highway. Thea Martins all the way down to Eskia and Pathleli. It's very heavy today. The N1 south through Midrand, backing from Brakfontein down towards New Road. That's busy. And a lot of pressure coming in from the south side of Joburg. N3 north at Sprayview's heavy. N3 then north into the restrictions at Heldenay's. Big backlogs there. The R59 to Michelle. And the Mike 1 from Boyson's right through to Parktown's Oxford Road. Under quite a bit of pressure as well this morning. Malabongwe Drive from the North Riding side. Very slow getting across the highway and into Stratham Park, heading down towards the Randburg side. Peter Maritzburg, Chotamotala at Northdale. The traffic lights there are down. That's very slow on your way to PMB. Breakdown on the N2 South before Spaghetti Junction. Heavy backlogs coming through from Umgeda Road, and quite a backlog as well. We think it's probably a breakdown on your way to Gateway. So from the Commercial Highway, the N2 North on your way up to the airport in towards that Umhlanga exit, very slow. Cape Town, bit unusual for school holidays to see the M3 queuing, but it is at Bishop's Court, going up very slowly towards Paradise Road. And the N1 inbound, there's a massive cruise ship, the MSC Opera at Cape Town Harbour. I think that's causing a bit of onlooking this morning. The elevated freeway coming into the foreshore area, very, very slow. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It is 9, just about 10 minutes after 7 o'clock. Welcome to the morning brief. It is a Monday, the 30th of March. My name is Oliver Dixon. And I must say, I'm only standing in on the show. Somebody asked me and sent me a text saying, hey, with Tulas having left, are you the new host of the show? No. I certainly am not. I am merely but standing in. In fact, my time with SAFM has also come to an end. My last official show with the station was on Friday on my actual show, which was this week today. I'm merely standing in today and tomorrow, and that's it. That brings my end with SAFM, my time with SAFM, to an end. You can continue to catch me, by the way, on SABC News, Channel 404 at 9 p.m. every weekday evening as I host there the late edition, but you will not be hearing my voice on the radio for quite some time. But I'm not disappearing. I'm still around. You and I can continue those engagements on social media platforms. You can find me on Twitter. It is at Oliver_speaking there, and you can tweet me and you and I can have a chat there. Or on Facebook. Lots of people hit me up on Facebook. Oliver Dixon there. You and I can have that conversation over there as well. I must say, as I was listening to Rob do the traffic there, particularly that Cape Town traffic, I listened with envy because just about half of Joburg was in Cape Town this weekend. Everybody flying down for the Cape Town International Jazz Fest, which had mixed reviews, and of course there was the Montreux Jazz Festival or Franche Jazz Festival, whichever name you prefer, that had raving reviews. My friends, a bunch of my friends were all in Cape Town participating in that. I saw some great footage of great performances there with guys. The Begum Seleku tribute being done by Bokani Daya was for me one that I really, really wanted to see, and it's sad that I didn't get to see it. If you were in Cape Town this weekend for either of those, the Cape Town International Jazz Fest, the Franschhoek, or the Montreux Jazz Festival, please give me a call. Send me a voice note. Tell me how it went for you. Did you enjoy it? Did you love it? Those are staple events on the South African jazz calendar. It would be amazing to hear from you how that went. In this hour, we speak to political analyst Nkosi Nyembezi, and this is on the Eastern Cape Elective Conference of the ANC having postponed indefinitely. Poppy Ramatuba, who has emerged as the chairperson of the ANC in Limpopo. She's only the second woman to be a provincial chairperson for the ANC in its history. That is quite the feat. We're going to be speaking to the NYDA a little bit later on. They had responded and reacted in a very interesting way to the announcement last week by the Reserve Bank governor that the repo rate remains unchanged at 6.75%. They're calling for a more youth-focused economic response to this. What does that even mean? What entails all of that? All of that and more coming up in this hour. You can be a part of it all. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. It's 12 minutes after 7.
Have you discovered the TV license WhatsApp yet? We see you binging reruns, living for the drama, loving the SABC Plus sports replays. Now, paying your TV license fits the vibe. Simply say hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060. Get your balance, make a payment, or set up a debit order all in one chat. No queues, no please hold, just convenience that feels like it should have been here all along. Because every screen in South Africa is a stage and yours is lit. So why wait? Send hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060 and get your TV license sorted today. Hashtag your screen, your story.
Bafana Bafana are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from 11 June to 19 July 2026. Bafana Bafana will host 2 international friendlies against Panama on Friday, 27 March in Durban at the Moses Mabhida Stadium at 7 p.m. and Tuesday, 31 March in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 80 Rand for adults and 50 Rand for children under 12. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana Bafana on X.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
14 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. The ANC in the Eastern Cape had their provincial elective conference postponed indefinitely following the granting of an urgent interdict by the East London High Court last week. Nkosi Nyembezi joins us. He's a political analyst. Nkosi, political litigation, or at least litigation in moments like these and heightened political times, is not unusual in the ANC anymore, but it remains controversial nonetheless. And it often shows us the fault lines of the party's factional battles. Do you read this one as a challenge to the procedural integrity of the conference, or you do read it as a factional battle playing itself out in the Eastern Cape?
Yes, it is that. Oh, good morning and good morning to a listener. Yes, it is that kind of disagreement, disunity, and that is manifesting itself. And of course, the specifics might be described in one way or the other, but it does show that the leadership has been unable to find a common marching ground, because it doesn't look like these issues that have been raised in court are issues that could not have been resolved by the leadership ahead of the dates.
Is this an indictment on the secretariat of the party? Because and I don't just mean at a provincial level, I mean at a national level as well, because during the state of readiness of the various structures of the party to go to Congress, Mbalula had come out as the Secretary General of the ANC and said the party across the country stands ready to do so, yet the Eastern Cape is in a situation where it is now. Is this an indictment on the secretariat from being able to manage the affairs of the party?
I think it's an indictment to everybody concerned, because from the branch level upwards, everybody has got a stake and they have a responsibility to ensure that everything goes as planned. But because the focus is too much on electing leadership, it's my time to eat and who controls who, it causes the thing to collapse. Because, for example, it was possible for the litigants in court to say perhaps what is in dispute is the credentials of the or some of the delegates, and it could be a percentage that is less than 20. So they could have asked for the conference to proceed maybe as a consultative conference, discuss the pertinent issues, leave aside the issue of elections until what had brought them to court has been resolved. In that way, it would not be all winner takes all and all is lost. There could have been some mileage in terms of delegates congregating. Right. But because of their approach, we see that everything has collapsed.
We learned, at least in 2016 and 17, that the Eastern Cape is a very important and fascinating battleground. It is really where Cyril Ramaphosa, who at the time was running the CR17 campaign, was able to go and cement his identity and status as the incoming president of the ANC. It is there where actors like Stella Ndabeni-Abrams were able to go and really work the ground, so to speak, for Ramaphosa to effectively emerge in the national picture. Oscar Mabuyane, of course, leading their charge as well in the province, given his sway in the province. Does the Eastern Cape remain that, and is a lot at stake here now for determining what the national leadership picture of the ANC ultimately looks like?
Yes, it looks like they are following those processes and that strategy of mobilizing based on slates. And yet it's not supposed to be like that. I think what is missing glaringly in the ANC is the implementation of that unity call. Because after these conferences, two of them, the national ones, in fact, even provincial, it was like said, unity, organizational renewal. But it doesn't look like that is working as they had professed that it would.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your engagement and reaction to that, Nkosi Nyembezi. I really do appreciate it. I'm taking your reaction to that. If you're an ANC member of the Eastern Cape, I want to hear from you how you felt about how this unfolded, particularly if you were meant to be a delegate at the Eastern Cape Elective Conference. 086 000 2032. Give me a call. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. On the other side of this, we speak to Poppy Ramatu.
Color Your Plate enters a new phase this Sunday evening at 7 as the winning contestants from the first 6 episodes now return as duos for the very first time, cooking side by side with their stirrings. Their challenge to create a dish that combines and celebrates their heritage and to prove they can work together under pressure. Which duo will stand out and show they have what it takes to go all the way? Find out on Color Your Plate, Sundays at 7 Repeat Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. only on SABC2.
SABC2 is bringing the heat. New shows, new faces, and stories that hit home, like the one I'm in called Pimville. And that's where you can catch me, Michelle Masalakai, every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Live in every beat, the pulse of SA.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It is 20 minutes after 7 o'clock. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. A historic moment in Limpopo this past weekend as Poppy Ramathuba has emerged as the party's chairperson in the province. Only the second woman in history to be a provincial chairperson for the ANC, at least during the democratic dispensation of the party. She joins us now, Poppy Ramathuba. Good morning. Thank you so much for your time. And I guess perhaps to start it here, congratulations. How do you feel about the moment?
Morning, Oliver, and morning to all your listeners out there. Of course, we are humbled and by this particular honor for branches of the ANC to have confidence that indeed we can contribute, especially during this difficult time of renewal, to lead the African National Congress.
Yeah. You had served as the premier of the Limpopo province while not being the chairperson of the party at the same time. That, of course, introduces interesting dynamics. And now you're serving as the premier of the province while being the chairperson of the ANC in the province. Does that change the dynamic for you at all?
I don't think it would change the dynamics that much, mainly because having served, I think if you remember from 2014, when the former chairperson was elected, the chair of the province, I served as the PC and the PWC member up until now. So when I was appointed or deployed as the premier of the province, I was still serving as a PWC and the PC member of the ANC. The ANC being the center, we have been able to navigate throughout the complexity of what most of the comrades will refer as two centers of power. What would happen is that we must all appreciate the fact that we take directives from the African National Congress. The mandate will be defined there, which will be informed by all your regional conferences, your BGMs, and also your national congress, your provincial congress. All those resolutions are the ones that will define and map the policies that will allow you to lead. So while, yes, not being a chair of a province has got its own dynamics, because you must from time to time be able to consult Lutulia, Muthala House in our instance, which is our headquarters as a province. It then you have to navigate through that. But now when you are there as the chair of the province, you must still remember that the African National Congress, it's still the center. Therefore, you still have got provincial secretaries and all other officials. The provincial secretary will be there full time in the African National Congress, dealing with all the issues of the organization. And while you are in government, but you still take the mandate from the very same African National Congress, as informed by what your branches will do. But it just makes the life easy to say decisions are taken in your presence, and then you implement the decisions that you were overseeing, the meetings that were able to take that decisions. So that is the only thing that I think would have changed, to say your presence there when all those decisions are being taken in all steps.
Yep. Now, the ANC's electoral performance in Limpopo province is perhaps its best across the country. The ANC has lost tremendous ground everywhere else across South Africa. And of course, we know what the implication of that being in some provinces like KwaZulu-Natal, where there's now a coalition government. The ANC has completely lost the Western Cape several election cycles back, and on the verge of losing provinces like the Northern Cape and Gauteng, with the difference between the ANC being in government and out of government in Gauteng is one vote. Quite literally one seat, rather, not one vote, one seat in the provincial legislature. But you still have an overwhelming, the ANC at least, still have overwhelming voter share in Limpopo province, with 73% of it in the provincial legislature. That means you, unlike any other chairperson and premier, have the ability to be bold in ways that others are limited by, given that they have to build a consensus through their coalescing efforts. What are your plans there? What's the mandate that you've been given by delegates at this elective conference in ways that perhaps enables you to be bold?
I think, and we don't take the support by the people of Limpopo for granted. Hence, the mandate is very clear. Prior towards the conference, branches and regional leadership have to come together and say, comrades, we need to unite, because there are two things that will happen. Either we're going to perish or we unite and move forward. Now, the mandate from the 11th Congress, it's simple to say, in your chairpersonships, build on what we have. The reason we had to come up with this unity is because we want all of us as the members and also as the leaders of the ANC to focus on dealing with the real issues that matter. Do away with factionalism. Do away with all those ills that have resulted in us seeing our support going down. Because when you are so obsessed with your factional battles, where you fighting conferences in such a way that you even tear yourself apart, for you to recover post the conference is a problem. So the important thing is that particular unity must go down to our regions and also to our branches, and that is the real renewal that we are talking about, which will make our ward councillor to be focusing on service delivery, and for us to retain the support that we continue to have. We must be able to focus on what matters the most in Limpopo. Number one on the list is the issue of water, followed by issues of roads, issues of jobs, issues of fighting gender-based violence and femicide. Those are the issues that the conference resolution and declaration mandated us to do. And you can't do that unless you focus on making sure you unite this particular province with its own unique dynamic differences. And you've got to navigate in such a way that, yes, there will be somewhere where others will not be happy. But what is important is that try by all means to make sure that everybody feels that this is the leadership, that is the leadership of the people.
Your predecessor, Stan Matabata, had attempted to resign as the chairperson of the province last year. And part of what he cited there was that he was resigning because the party had become unethical in the province and he could no longer serve in good conscience the party there. Do you share a similar concern about the ethical behavior of party structures in the province?
I think even the chairperson, if you go and read his political report, Comrade Stan Matabata has very clearly indicated how he is proud to have led this ANC, which at the time when he took over in 2014, it's probably at around number 4 or 5 in terms of membership in the country. Today, comparatively speaking, he's handing over the African National Congress which is leading, if you look at our delegations to the NGC. Now, that tells you that issues do happen when you are leading. But that doesn't necessarily mean it could be the exact true reflections of what is happening. Differences will be there, like the report has indicated, like the organizational report through the provincial secretary was very clear to say, we are also human. We are like any other organizations. At times when things are not going right, we should be vocal. And the chair had to voice his own frustrations at that time when things were not going right. But that doesn't mean the membership is unethical, because if you look at having to deliver a conference, provincial conference, comparatively speaking to our regional conferences, this is one of the most peaceful provincial conference since the dawn of democracy. I mean, since it's the 11th conference, it's one of those that was very peaceful, not even contested when it comes to the top five. So I think what I can indicate to you is that the memberships are ethical.
Okay.
They could be challenges like any other organizations, but it's not something we are not able to manage, like we've just proven to you by this particular conference, that this shows that the organization is alive and comrades are committed towards the renewal program.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Poppy Ramatuba, the new chairperson of the ANC in Limpopo province. Zaikhan is standing by with your latest in sports.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the ANC Eastern Cape leadership is set to meet the party's national leadership at Luthuli House in Johannesburg today to debrief them on the halting of the elective provincial conference over the weekend. The conference failed to proceed after the Eastern Cape High Court issued an interim order against it. The National Police Commissioner, General Fani Masimula, says he will cooperate with the courts in connection with the 360 million rand Medicare 24 Tshwane district matter. Masimula has been summoned to appear in court on the 21st of April over the contract which was awarded to alleged criminal cartel member Vuzimuzi Kat Matlala to provide health services to the SAPS. And the Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say operations to fight the blaze on the mountain slopes above the Dorings in the Boerland continues this morning. Firefighters have been battling to contain the fire since Saturday evening. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The M1 highway around the western side of Joburg, very heavy today. You won't be expecting this. You're thinking, okay, kids are not at school. It'll be a little bit easier, but you'll be surprised. From 14th Avenue all the way around to Rivonia Road, there is a big backlog of traffic on that route. The Mike 1 fairly standoutish as well, from Boysons all the way up to about Glenhove Road. So from Boysons through to Corlett on your way, to Melrose at least, on your way up to Sandton. Very slow. And of course, the N3 jamming up into the lane restriction at Heldnays. Delays coming out of Alberton off the N12 and Germiston off the N3. Durban, a breakdown before Spaghetti Junction. N2 south under some real strain this morning from Inanda roadside. Also, the Southern Freeway. That's quite sluggish. Congela Umbulo as you line up towards the embankment exit into the CBD, and the N2 north going up towards Gateway, very slow this morning as well. Queues from sort of back around Queen Nundy Drive territory. Lights are off at Northdale if you're coming through to Peter Maritzburg or Chotamatala. Expect some delays there. Cape Town generally easier all across the board, particularly the highways. There's no traffic on the M3 inbound this morning. That's because of school holidays. That traffic has really disappeared. Marine Drive, a little bit sluggish at Boundary Road through Milnerton, and then you've got a really big cruise ship sat right in the middle of the harbour that everybody's having a look at. So elevated freeway inbound slow because of that to the CBD, and behind that Marine Drive quite sluggish through Pardon Island trying to get into that N1. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
I want you to imagine this. It's a very tense innings against an arch rival. It comes down to one ball. You need 6 runs. You're the batter at the crease. You're a debutant, by the way. It's your very first one. It's all you've ever dreamed about, and your country's hopes hangs on you now, and you manage to get a 6. Very tough 6, by the way, just on the nick of it to win the test match. Man.
Oh my God. Let me tell you, that's the kind of moment where the whole house goes quiet and then explodes. That's exactly what happened to us. So, yeah, definitely hold your breath stuff there, Oliver. And the lady of the moment, it was, well, Kayla Reiniker. Unbelievable from the 20-year-old doing amazing things. Uh, I cannot tell you how proud we are of Kayla Reiniker taking on, yes, New Zealand in Christchurch. And, she again saying that it wasn't just her effort, it was a team effort as the Proteas women pulled off that last ball thriller, chasing 268. They were in early trouble. They lost Tasman Brits, Laura Wolfart before Sune Lewis and Anne-Marie Dirksen rebuilt the innings. Ayabonga Kaka had already starred with the ball, and she had a career best 6 for 56 to keep South Africa in the game. And then all eyes on the 20-year-old debutant Kayla Reiniker needing 6 off the final ball. She delivered, and this is what she had to say.
Yeah, I mean, we look back at the T20s. I mean, it's behind, it's in the past. So, yeah, it's the ADI series that's laying ahead of us now. So 2 games ahead. But, yeah, I mean, important points for the team. Yeah, I mean, credits to Aya there, 6 for madness. Really good bowling. And then also Derki and Sunny, good batting, good partnership. But yeah, also I think really good bowling there in the first innings. We just kind of like lost it there at the last 10. Lacked a bit of runs there. So, but yeah, made a good up with the bat.
More cricket, the Mumbai Indians opened their IPL campaign in style, chasing down 220 to beat Kolkata Knight Riders by 6 wickets. Ryan Rickelton smashed 81, while Rohit Sharma added 78 in a dominant opening stand. On to soccer, and the Bafana Bafana defender Emi Ocon says he felt comfortable in his first appearance under coach Hugo Bruges during Friday's 1-1 draw against Panama in Durban. Ocon expects Bafana to improve when they face Panama again in Cape Town tomorrow, as the two sides now know each other better.
I think now we got, like we saw how they play and all, so I think our preparation towards the next game will be much better, and for sure we're hoping to get the win the next.
On to rugby, and the SWD Eagles handed Boland Cavaliers their first defeat of the SA Cup season, winning 33-24 in George. And the Griquas remain top after hammering the Griffins 71-7. The Cheetahs boosted their semi-final hopes with a 52-19 win over Eastern Province. The Leopards secured their first victory of the season, while the Pumas edged the Falca 42-36. That's your sport. We'll have more on the morning brief. Top of the hour, I'm Sai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And of course, Ndaleng's back with the business update in the second hour. It's always fascinating taking a look at some of these. But Stanley Morgan expects the South African Reserve Bank to hike rates in May. And Ndaleng, this is despite, by the way, the Reserve Bank saying that they are taking a wait-and-see approach and their concerns about an inflationary rally as a result of the conflict in the Middle East.
You're absolutely right there, Oliver. Morgan Stanley now expects the SARB to turn more aggressive on inflation, forecasting interest rate hikes as early as May. The call, of course, comes after the central bank held rates at 6.75%, but flagged rising risks to the inflation outlook. Governor Lesetja Kganyago warned that global developments, particularly higher oil prices, could force policymakers to act to protect the bank's 3% target. We all know that those oil prices have surged amid tensions in the Middle East, adding to concerns that inflation could overshoot current forecasts. Morgan Stanley now sees a preemptive tightening cycle, penciling in rate hikes in May and July, while the SARB's baseline still points to stable rates if oil prices ease. But it has also outlined scenarios where prolonged pressure, including a weaker rand, would require tighter policy.
Sticking to banks, First Rand has increased its stake in fintech player Optasia. I feel like the fintech space is saturated. Firstly, you can only innovate so much. You can't reinvent the wheel there. But yet, major financial players still put big money into fintech.
Yeah, I don't think the industry is saturated because every fintech player does something different, right? Something that the banks can't do or don't necessarily have the capacity to do. And what we are seeing is a trend where the big players are snapping up some of the small players. I think last year it was Nedbank that bought Ikoka. Capitec has also been snapping up some of those players. And First Rand wants a piece of the pie, doubling down on its fintech big and increasing its stake in newly JSE listed firm Optasia after snapping up 74 million shares from Zoe Enterprises for 1.48 billion rands. Now, the deal lifts its holding to 26.1%, strengthening its strategic position in a fast-growing digital credit market. First Rand first invested in Optasia ahead of its JSE listing, where it acquired a 20.1% stake. This latest move builds on that initial investment. Now, the deal comes as Optasia, which is a platform that provides micro-lending and airtime credit services to underbanked consumers and small businesses in emerging markets, continues to grow its business and broaden its technology offering. This move also reflects a broader shift with traditional banks increasingly turning their focus to fintech players to drive a growth and innovation. I think it was last week as well where Standard Bank had its capital markets a day saying it's looking to sharpen its focus within the fintech space.
So effectively, Optasia is another buy now, pay later of a play.
No. What makes Optasia even more interesting is that it's like it uses mobile data to offer small loans and other financial services. What it does, it works with mobile networks, so your MTNs, your Vodacoms, and it's actually it backs that infrastructure, what is it called? Airtime advances, data advances, infrastructure, and uses that to then determine whether people qualify for small loans, micro loans, that is.
Okay. Well, I think you and I should start a fintech company. Mary Vilagazi might have some money for us there. Let's take a look at the markets.
So starting in Asia, stocks in the red on escalating tensions in the ongoing conflict involving the US, Israel and Iran, which has continued to dampen investor sentiment. Now, the Japanese Nikkei leading the losses, down 3%. Over on Wall Street, futures are flat after last week's sell-off, where the Dow Jones entered correction phase, shedding over 10% from recent highs due to that conflict over in the Gulf region. That, of course, also weighing on the JSE, with the bourse closing in negative territory on Friday. This risk-off mood spilling over to currencies, with the rand on the back foot this hour. It's at 17.10 to the greenback, 22.69 to the pound, and 19.68 to the euro. Looking at commodities, energy prices continue to trend higher, with oil on track to close the month at a record high. It's currently trading at $115 a barrel.
And darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Speak to you in the next hour. The NYDA says that they want a youth-focused response to the unchanged repo rate. What does that mean? We speak to them.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
For Olwethu Nxumalo of Ozide Rentals and Custom Dressmaking, every stitch is a story. What's your Telkom business chapter?
What made Telkom Business stand out from all the rest was how fast everything was.
And with voice calling and fiber from Telkom Business, she stitches together inquiries and sources fabric online without dropping a thread.
Get unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month and Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
It's just about 15 minutes to the top of the hour. Now, the embattled NYDA, the National Youth Development Agency, their response to the unchanged repo rate of 6.75% is that they want a more youth-focused response to that. What does that even mean? We're going to try and get them on the line. Tepo Molloy, who's the head of research, is meant to be speaking to us. We're trying to get him on the line, but as soon as we are able to, we'll have that conversation. Well, he's on the line with us now. Tepo, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show. What is meant by a youth-focused economic response to an unchanged repo rate?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on the show. So basically what we're saying as the NYDA is that given the rise in the global geopolitical tensions, the uncertainties that we see globally, obviously that has got implications for things such as fuel prices, the cost of living, and that will certainly have an impact on young people and low-income households. So as the NYDA, we're saying in order to cushion the impact of those of young people, there's certainly a need for a response that will cushion young people against those. And that would include the issues around how do we think about fiscal policy from a fuel levies point of view. We've seen other countries globally and just nearer to home, Namibia, intervening in terms of reduction of the fuel levy by about 50%. And there's similar calls in the South African context. You'd recall that in the February budget, the Minister of Finance had tabled a proposed increase on the fuel levy. And we are saying that certainly there's a need to review that in that regard. But there are also other measures, as you know, that the unemployment statistics for the fourth quarter for 2025 also came out still pointing, even though there's a reduction in the overall unemployment rate, but there's certainly a heightened youth unemployment rate, which means that young people still lack the necessary income to sustain their livelihoods. So how do we think from a fiscal policy point of view, a monetary policy point of view, and industrial policy point of view?
Let's talk about
young people in the
Let's talk about the fiscal instruments such as taxes and levies as an instrument to respond to economic hardships. Well, we're expected, the National Treasury expects to collect about 100 billion rand this year from the fuel levy, which is about 4 to 5% of total taxes to be collected. It's a lot of money. In the event that they suspend the fuel levy as they did during COVID-19, either temporarily or fully so for the fiscal, in response to the cost of living crisis and, of course, the rising fuel costs, that is 100 billion rand that they would have to forgo, a 100 billion rand gap in the government purse. Surely that would have other effects on youth unemployment and youth support that the NYDA would have to wrap its head around. It's a tremendous trade-off.
No, certainly. I think valid point. But what we're saying is that they are. Let me put it in this way. I think South Africa, when it tabled its budget in February 2026, this is one of the budgets where we were in a unique sort of fiscal position from a public finance point of view. Where for the first time, government was able to comfortably be able to ensure that the level of expenditure is exceeded by the level of revenue collected. You would also know that in the February budget, the Minister of Finance had also indicated that in terms of their revenue projections, they had not fully incorporated some of the windfall taxes that we expect to receive from commodities, the higher commodities. There's been a surge in the commodities that South Africa exports, gold, platinum, etc. And that certainly has not been fully been affected in the current revenue sort of figures that Treasury put forward. And Treasury itself had said that that aspect cushions the country against what we're now seeing in the form of the geopolitical tensions as it relates to the high oil prices that we'll be experiencing now. So we are saying, and the second point would be that you'd know that South Africa is pursuing a budget surplus over the next decade or so. So we are saying that similar to the point you made during COVID-19, that in instances where there are economic shocks that have got an impact on society, in our case on young people, government has got the responsibility to make sure that it's able to assist in terms of the cushioning of the livelihoods of its citizens, but also helping in terms of the economic recovery.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to leave that tip. Thank you so much. It's important, by the way, also to note that the deficit still sits at 5% of GDP. So they still have to contend with that in pursuant of that primary surplus. Tsepo Moloi is the head of research and economics at the NYDA. I'm taking your reactions. Give me a call, 086 000 2032. Rob Byrne has your latest in traffic.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, still very heavy across Joburg, particularly the Mike 1 today from Boysons all the way up to Corlett Drive. If you're trying to get through Joburg, it's a slow go through to Santon area this morning. Also looking fairly heavy on the run into Santon. There's an issue on Winnie Mandela and Matty. That's in Hurlingham. So Winnie Mandela coming from Bryanston, from about the high school, very heavy as you head to Santon. And behind that, Republic Road, really slow out of Randburg this morning. Big traffic queues down towards the Winnie Mandela congestion going into Santon. So if you're leaving from Bryanston or Randburg, very heavy this morning. Also the N1 just chockers between Randburg and Sunninghill. They run up towards the Rivonia Road. Very slow. The N3 queuing heavily coming out of Alderton and Germiston through to Van Buren. And then a little bit further up on the N3, Limbro Park heading into Buccleuch. That's quite slow. Also a crash on the M1 south at Rivonia. So coming off the N1 Midrand from Allendale through Buccleuch and then a turn onto that western bypass down to Rivonia. Very slow going through there. Bit of traffic pressure on the N14, the Krugersdorp Highway, and you way to Pretoria. That's all jammed up from the R55 Pretoria West exit in towards Brockfontein Interchange. Durban this morning, the highways have been jam-packed. The N2 breakdown at Spaghetti Junction's being cleared, so that's starting to ease. But that N2 north from the M7 up through towards Westwood Mall, there's a breakdown in amongst the roadworks this morning, so that stays heavy. The M4 Southern Freeway, Umbillo and Congella, jam-packed going up towards the Esplanade and into Durban city centre. Brooks Neck, that protesting situation starting to ease. Authorities have been able to clear some of that debris, and the big backlogs that we had between Kokstad and Mount Aleph have eased quite significantly, actually. And Cape Town, bit of pressure on the N1 inbound today. We think it's largely due to onlookers at the massive cruise ship that's docked in the harbour overnight. N1 inbound from Parow, very slow. Behind that, Marine Drive coming through Parton Island, all jammed up to get into that N1 queue. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
You could win a car. You could win a car. Everyone could win a car.
Spar Win a Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating cards like 750-gram Nescafe Real Coffee Tin or 800-gram Value Pack, excluding decaf, for $129.99. Save 40 Rand. Or 750-gram Cremora Coffee Creamer for $49.99. Save 20 Rand. Price is valid from 23 March till 7 April. Shop, swipe, and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Bafana are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from 11 June to 19 July 2026. Bafana will host 2 international friendlies against Panama on Friday, 27 March in Durban at the Moses Mabhida Stadium at 7 p.m. and Tuesday, 31 March in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 80 Rand for adults and 50 Rand for children under 12. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X.
Investing shouldn't feel risky. It should give you security and good returns. Earn up to 7.25% interest per annum with an ABSA Cash Invest Tracker for an investment of 100,000 rands or more. Your capital is guaranteed with immediate access to your funds. That's minimum risk, maximum benefit. ABSA Private Banking customers can invest from just R1. Open via the ABSA Banking app, a branch, a private banker, or 0860 111 515. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Give us a call, 086 000 2032. You can send me a WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's have a listen at some of your WhatsApp voice notes that's come through this morning.
Yeah, Oliver, it's Willie in Kuma. Oliver, understand your Minister of Home Affairs talking about the measures that are going to take place using the drones to curb an influx of foreign nationals into our country. But now, remember, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of undocumented foreign nationals in our country who are roaming the streets here. Then they have to be taken back to their countries, you see, to minimize problems of crime and unemployment in our country. Thank you, Willie and Kuma.
Good morning, Oliver. I just want to share my thoughts with regards to the conversation I heard you having with Minister of Kokta, or Minister Valenkosi Tlabisa. Oliver, the reality is one thing. In my honest opinion, in 2026, there should not be any initiation schools, given the fact that every other year we are hearing reports of deaths, we're hearing reports of unregistered initiation schools, we are hearing so many stories about these initiation schools. So what we should currently do, or what the department should actually do, is eradicate, do away with these initiation schools, because the true meaning and the value of what these initiation schools are supposed to have are no longer there. But it's just my honest opinion. Dale here in Bryanston.
Well, thank you so much for that, Dale. Wonga in Matatiela. Wonga, do you agree with Dale there?
200%, Oliver, I do agree with Dale. First of all, I think I will speak on behalf of Matatiela and Mount Fletcher. The standardization of the initiation or whatever the minister is talking about, I don't think he did maybe have an imbizo or a consultation to our area. In our area is completely different what we do versus what is happening in Amtata. We are still in the same province versus what is happening in Queenstown or Elliot. So I think if maybe, Oliver, I may ask, I would love if maybe you can, after all what we are talking about now, I can be able to get the information of the minister so that I can write to him and explain, or even I can go to him with a certain team to go and present how we do this. It's not going to be possible to standardize anything per province. In Matatiela, you'll find out we in-house 30, 40 boys for the initiation. You go to Queenstown, they just do for one person. You go to East London, they just do one person. It's completely impossible what he is busy trying to control. And again, we in Matatiela and Mount Fletcher, we make sure that we don't put those that have been to the school in the previous year to look after the boys in the following year. We take older people, we involve headmen, we involve chiefs, we involve all the stakeholders that will take care of this traditional custom. We care a lot about it. We love it. So if I may be given a chance, Oliver, to get the information of the
Certainly.
minister.
Let me put you back to the team so that they can connect you with the minister's team. Thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. That is Wonga calling us there from Matatiela. Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, you have a unique view as the Deputy Minister of Health. Talk to me.
No, I was once very close to this process, and I remain close to the process. Thanks, Oliver, and good morning to you and your listeners. I wanted to commend Minister Sabisa for the stride that he has really taken to really improve. Because what is it that we are trying to do is to make sure that no young boy goes to the circumcision school and comes back dead. Now, I would want to say over and above what they actually are putting in place, registered and unregistered initiation schools, is to really continue to take the advices that they get from health to say, without interfering with the traditional circumcision process, but if those young boys can be exposed to advice from a healthcare worker to say this one is fit or not fit before they go to the initiation school. And also, there's not been any proven scientific information that if you deprive the boys of water, you really actually doing something much positive for them. In fact, you do opposite. They do die because they sometimes get to be deprived of water and they die of dehydration. So if they could also augment those health advices that they have received, still within the traditional way of doing this, the ritual, that would be great.
Why aren't initiation directors trained to continue to monitor the vitals of the boys?
Why what?
Why are they not trained, initiation school operators, to continue to monitor the vitals of the boys who are at the mountain?
Maybe some of them have not had the skill to actually monitor that. I mean, to see someone getting dehydrated, Oliver, is not something that you could actually be able to, pick up. I'm not sure you are aware, 70% of our bodies is made of water. Now, it's a very sensitive thing. If you really deprive and don't have enough, you can actually die because of just that and that alone. So sometimes maybe without undermining their understanding, it may not be possible for any other person just to observe that this person is getting dehydrated now, please can we replace? So, and they suddenly, by the time they go to hospital, it's sometimes late. All one is requesting to say, can they make sure that in the package, there is no prescribed requirement to deprive the initiates of water?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, who was once, at some point, the Deputy Minister of Health, now serves as the Portfolio Committee Chairperson on Health in Parliament. Well, I'll continue to take your reaction to this on the other side of it. Give me a call, 086 000 2032. It's 8 o'clock. Let's take your latest news bulletin.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
In our top stories, ANC Eastern Cape to debrief national leadership on halted conference, and 5 suspected drug mules arrested at OR Tambo International. Good morning. The ANC Eastern Cape leadership is set to meet the party's national leadership at Luthuli House in Johannesburg today to debrief them on the halting of the elective provincial conference over the weekend. The conference failed to proceed after the Eastern Cape High Court issued an interim order against it. Some members took the party to court accusing it of flawed processes before the conference. Provincial Chair Oscar Mabuyane has accused some party members outside of the province of planting seeds of divisions for personal gain.
There are some masterminds who are masterminding this. Now I can get a sense that it's not just the battles of our province, are battles that are also sponsored elsewhere because of other national interest of moving forward. You know, at some point there would have been comrades. Some of those comrades are very active now. They are protagonists of what is happening. It's about control. Who is there? Am I able to control that person? If I can't control that person can't be right.
5 South African female drug mules have been arrested at Johannesburg's OR Tambo International Airport. Police say the suspects were found with drugs worth more than 5 million rand concealed on their bodies on Saturday. Preliminary reports indicate the group was headed to China via Dubai. Police spokesperson Amanda van Wyk says the suspects are expected to appear in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court tomorrow.
A search led to the discovery of drugs concealed inside their sneakers, underwear and private parts. The suspects are expected to appear before the Kempton Park Magistrates Court on Tuesday, the 31st of March, on charges related to drug trafficking. Investigations remain ongoing.
The following story contains graphic content which may upset sensitive listeners and children. A 63-year-old woman is expected to appear in the Bellville Magistrates Court in Cape Town today in connection with the gruesome murder of a sister. The body of a 79-year-old woman was found dismembered in a house in Bellville South. The suspect was arrested after the discovery. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident, including a possible motive. The woman is expected to apply for legal aid. The NPA says the accused has indicated that she will not apply for bail. The National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola says he will cooperate with the courts in connection with the 360 million rand Medicare 24 Tshwane district matter. Masemola has been summoned to appear in court on the 21st of April over the contract which was awarded to alleged criminal cartel member Vuzimuzi Katmatlala to provide health services to the SAPS. At least 12 police officers have already appeared in court on charges including fraud, corruption and contravening the Public Finance Management Act. Masemola says he's done nothing wrong.
I have not been charged. I receive a summon to appear in court, which anybody now and then do receive. And as far as if you ask me if I done anything wrong, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I cancelled the contract and I followed other processes, and that's how far I want to take it.
And finally, the Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say operations to fight the blaze on the mountain slopes above the Dorings in the Boerland continues this morning. Firefighters have been battling to contain the fire since Saturday evening. Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire service spokesperson Joanne Otto says the wind picked up last night and led to flare-ups. She says the fire has also been fueled by fynbos and alien vegetation.
Fire crews successfully carried out a backburn to create a fire break, thereby preventing the fire line from spreading to a wider area. During the early hours of this morning, cooler temperatures aided firefighting efforts, allowing ground teams to make good progress. There are currently 3 ground teams active along the fire line, positioned on either side and working toward one another. A full assessment of the fire line and planning for the day's operations will take place after first light. There is currently no threat to property or orchards.
Recapping the top story, the ANC Eastern Cape leadership is set to meet the party's national leadership at Luthuli House in Johannesburg today to debrief them on the halting of the elective provincial conference over the weekend. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Theft, accident and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS car to 43185. That's car to 43185.
Like VHS, your car may be older, but it's got character. Now, with Outsurance Essential Car Insurance, you could get savings too as well. 45-year-old Lucky pays only 380 Rand a month for his 2014 Ford Figo, and he gets third-party cover of up to R1 million. Get Outsurance Essential Car Insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS car to 43185. That's car to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines Soccer with Bafana's Lyle Foster expecting a sharper, more intense clash with Panama in Cape Town tomorrow. And in tennis action, it is Yannick Sinner who beats Yuri Lehechka to win the Miami Open final. All the details at around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very heavy getting into Sandton. Winnie Mandela down through to Hurlingham. An issue around Matty. So Winnie Mandela from Bryanston High School's bad. And behind that, Republic Road really backed up out of Randburg this morning, getting across into that traffic on Winnie Mandela. And one from Randburg through to Sunninghill looking heavier than you might be expecting. The Mike one's a bit of a disaster today from Boyson's all the way through to Caller Drive. Very slow on your way to Sandton that way. And a crash on the N1 South at Ravonia, coming off the N1 Mid-Rand section through Beclue. It turned out to Ravonia very slow. N3 be choked up at Limbro Park on your way into Buccleuch interchange territory as well. Durban, the breakdown on the N2 South at Spaghetti Junction's being cleared. There is a little bit of a backlog heading into 4 level, but it's a lot better than it used to be. Going north is a problem. N2 up to Westwood Mall through 4 level, and the M4 at Congela and Umbulo into city centre of Durban, very slow as well. Cape Town, the standout there, really the N2 inbound this morning with a crash near the airport runway. So big backlogs coming through from the Khayelitsha side. And the N1, very slow as you approach the city centre this morning. A lot of onlooking at a big cruise ship there. N1 slow from Paro. The N2, bottom of Nelson Mandela Boulevard, backlogging to get into that N1 as well. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It is 9 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is the Morning Brief. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Really do appreciate it. So absolutely none of you want to tell me how the Cape Town International Jazz Festival was, as well as the Montreux Jazz Festival in Franschhoek. Because I watched people's tweets and Instagram stories and Facebook posts with great envy, I will tell you, because I was not in Cape Town this weekend to watch any of that and to listen to any of that. I mean, Bokani Daya, one of our greatest jazz artists in the country, jazz pianist, did a Bheki Mseleku tribute this weekend. And that's something I wish I could have listened to live. It's honestly one of those moments. Abdullah Ibrahim was performing. Come on, South African legend. How was that for you? Please do let me know. Give me a call, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. This hour we speak to Thokozile Zambane, who's the founder of Kani Development Solutions. This week, by the way, President Ramaphosa will be hosting the return of his South Africa Investment Conference. It's taking place this week. But in the State of the Nation address, he made this claim around how 250 billion rand in investment pledges has started flowing into South Africa's Just Energy Transition Investment Plan. The Minister of Electricity and Energy is hoping to raise a ton of money over the next 13 years to undertake in rebuilding South Africa's entire national energy grid twice over. But a lot of renewable energy players says we've invested into building all these renewable energy projects and these plants, but we're not getting grid access because the South African grid is congested, particularly in the Highveld. The question is, how do we solve this? Is 250 billion rand enough to get this off the ground? We're going to be talking about the energy policy and going beyond that, about economic inclusion and access to information to ensure that all citizens are able to participate and benefit from the Just Energy Transition. Thokozile Zambane joins us for that conversation. The Deputy Minister of Transport, Umkhuleko Hlengwa, will be joining us to talk about the ongoing partnership that the Department of Transport has with the South African Council of Churches on road safety interventions, particularly around high-risk periods like the Easter travel period. They're going to be collaborating over the upcoming Easter travel period once again around the theme. It begins with me, South Africa's road safety. We're going to be having that conversation with the Deputy Minister this hour. Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Let's take some of your calls. It's 11 minutes after 8.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
For Mamotati and Kensani of Design News, a beautiful room starts with a rock-solid connection. Tell us what was slowing down your growth.
It would have to be slow network coverage.
Now, Telkom Business Fiber lets the team process large renders while the landline keeps supplier calls coming in.
Get Call Light Fiber from 655 Rand per month and unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
This one is important. We've got exciting news for you. South Africa, SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. So if you're a Capitec client, sign into the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At, and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive an instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. And of course, your radios keep chiming. TV license, pay yours. Make a difference.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Well, let's go to the lines this morning. We're going to start off with Alba in Sky City. Alba, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Go for it.
Yes, I want to talk about the issue of initiation schools. But before that, I just want to say something. I see everybody's talking about the World Cup and even FIFA, but they don't consider the fact that the U.S. is in a war with Iran. I don't know if they already know the outcome of the war. But during the World Cup, the war
I'll tell you this. I'm very skeptical about matches taking place in America for the World Cup. I think the bulk of the matches will be moved to Canada or Mexico. I could be wrong about this, but we've seen stranger things.
But if it was an African country that was supposed to host and something like that was happening, so many Western media would have already spoken out saying, we need to change this. In fact, that the media sometimes, I'm sorry about it because I'm sorry about the media, but sometimes the Western media, most especially, they just speak propaganda. Yeah. But coming to the initiation schools, I hear people talking about the total ban of initiation schools because of the deaths sometimes that do happen because of those bogus or illegal ones. I believe that even on those legal ones, those kind of things, accidents do happen whereby initiates end up dying. But here is my problem. Personally, I don't like initiation schools, but because I don't like them, it doesn't mean that it should be burned. Because, for example, so many people die of alcohol-related issues every year, even on our roads. But you don't hear people saying there should be a total ban of alcohol in this country because people do drink.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't drink. So all I'm trying to say is, because I don't like initiation schools, it should not be banned. And because I don't drink, it doesn't mean that alcohol should be banned. But because initiation schools are conducted in a community, so then the parent, if a child dies, my child dies at the initiation school, which was a bogus one, I should be arrested as a parent. Why do I say so? After taking my child to an initiation school, if something is not right, I can see that something is fundamentally wrong. Why didn't I take, as a responsible parent, why didn't I take measures to make sure that it is a well-registered school, it is not bogus? Why didn't I report to the authorities once I started smelling that there is something that is fundamentally wrong with this school?
Yeah, no, Alba, I agree with you 100%. I think the argument is quite astute. You don't take away cars because driving is dangerous. You don't take away alcohol because alcohol is deadly. I think you're absolutely right. I think you solve the problem by fixing the system, and I think there's a lot in it that needs to be sorted out. And one of those is, as you say, being able to apportion the right sort of sanctions to the right people and actors. Alba, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate your call. Let's go to Janusz out in Cape Town. Janusz, good morning. Go for it.
Hi, good morning to you. Increase of the petrol and especially diesel will affect tremendously our industry, our people, or all of us. Especially diesel, 9 rand per liter. Agriculture will suffer in our country, of course, and we're going to pay higher price for everything. And what exactly our government is doing to help us? In many countries, they actually reducing the VAT for, especially for the petrol consumption. Not in our country. We are complaining very often about inequality in our country, but when it comes to the VAT, we are all equal. Rich people, middle class, and poor people, we pay the same amount of VAT.
Yeah.
It is not fair. It's not fair, and I think the people actually, the workers' union should take this case because it cannot be like that. That rich people can afford to pay 15%, 15% for luxury, cars. When you buy a second-hand car, you pay the same, and everything so this is not fair. The people should stand up, especially union, to change this system because this system is not favorable. Look into the other countries, like even in China. The China, the system that you pay for the medicine, for the schooling, for the industry of the housing, less percentage. We are all here paying the same. Not right.
Janusz, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your call. Really do appreciate it. Janusz calling us there from Cape Town. Let's go to Pumzile out in East London. Pumzile, good morning.
Good morning, Oliver and the listeners. And I'm not in East London. I wish I was there under the kingship of the Nigerians. But I am in Kocha in the Eastern Cape. Oliver, I want to talk about the recent developments around the ANC, which I'm a member in good standing. It's a very painful thing to see how the ANC is actually being torn apart by us as leaders of the ANC. Today we're supposed to have started the conference in my region, which is called Sarah Parkman.
Yeah.
A conference which was actually consistently postponed. At the 11th hour yesterday, conference is postponed. Conference was scheduled and opened on the 6th, between the 4th and 6th of February by the provincial chair. And out of the blue, it was postponed. We're talking about a conference here which was certificated by the SG. Right? Now today, out of the blue, the conference is postponed without proper consultation, in fact, even with the owners of the conference. The owners of the conference is the branches of the ANC. The conference is constituted 90% by the branches of the ANC. Now, in the whole Eastern Cape, we are the only region that has failed to deliver a conference under the current RTT. So I am very much concerned about the state of my own organization, where people are seemed to be reluctant to relinquish democratically the positions that they occupy, because conference is contested. Why they run away from conference, I don't know.
Yeah.
Today, I have felt compelled as one of the senior leaders of the ANC who spent his whole life in the struggle to pen an open letter to the RTT coordinator, right? So telling him that I am not happy about the way they treat us in this Sarah Bartman. Right?
It's fascinating because the main court application around the conference is yet to be heard in the East London High Court. And I think some of the arguments will be made around the intervention in the regional conferences, as well as some of the branches apparently 90 branches have not been able to convene and sit, or at least that there's something wrong there. And so the main court application, which is yet to be heard, is going to, I think, uncover a lot of that and give clarity to that. But we'll wait for that. Pumzile, and we're going to have to leave it there.
Yeah. We're not going to be cited there, Oliver, because we are not respondents. I'm talking about my region.
No. You don't have to be respondent for that to be cited. It's part of, I guess, the overall evidentiary conversation that has to take place in terms of the integrity of every region and every branch that has set. But we're going to have to leave it at Pumzile. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Well, on the other side of this, we're going to have a short break. We're going to be speaking to Thokozile Zambane.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
As you sit in traffic reflecting on a good day, projects on track, clients happy, and they're a big one too. They trust you with all their sensitive data that's kept in your outdated work laptop, in your car, as you sit in traffic. Don't let bad tech choices get in the way. Switch to tailored secure cloud solutions because nothing should stop your business. Call 084 1234. Cell C.
With Mercedes, with Outsurance rather, saving on your car insurance feels like hitting every green robot on your way to work. 35-year-old Zanai saves a whopping 1,180 Rand on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
250 billion Rand is what President Ramaphosa said is starting to flow into South Africa's Just Energy Transition Investment Outlook. The question is that enough? And has that money been operationalized in the right way? We speak to Thokozile Zambane, the founder of Kani Development Solutions. Thokozile, good morning. Welcome to the show. Really do appreciate it. Is this 250 billion Rand real money or is it ambitious money?
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me on the show. This 250 is real money. It is ambitious money, but I think the real focus is obviously a lot of this investment is going into infrastructure, real focus on capital infrastructure, renewable energy, power generation, and especially grid expansion. But what we really believe and what we think is quite important to also consider is the real question around this all will be who's actually going to be able to access the jobs and the opportunities that are linked to this large scale investment. And we really see it in that the infrastructure really creates the opportunity, but we need to really be assessing, who's actually able to benefit. And what we believe is also required is a real focus and a real investment in the supporting participation infrastructure, so that this investment is actually translating into jobs and opportunities on the ground.
In the energy space, it has been a very interesting development in that a lot of those who actually did the sort of early stage development and investing, particularly in green energy initiatives, are now complaining that they're not seeing the economic dividend of their investment and projects because there's no grid space, and that requires additional investment. The Minister of Electricity said we want to build 14,000 kilometers of new grid line across the country to be able to connect a lot of these provinces. And that might make a lot of those who want to get into the space be hesitant about whether or not their investments might actually be able to be actualized. What's your reaction to some of those concerns around obstacles to operationalizing some of the investment potential?
No, there's a real focus. In terms of, grid expansion is quite critical in that it really allows for new projects to connect and to come online. And we really are seeing a real procurement opportunity that's coming out of that. Recently from the IPP office, there is a transmission line. There is a transmission line expansion program and a program that has opened around that, really as a way to start with the infrastructure needed to bite into that 14,000 kilometers that you mentioned. And then obviously that then does obviously present for further opportunities that need to be accessed around it.
Yeah, and let's talk about policy uniformity, because a lot of the early day obstacles around energy investments, we were told that the right policy frameworks aren't in place, as well as the right sort of the environment just didn't enable it. And so we saw over the years a decoupling of Eskom. We now have the National Transmission Company of South Africa that exists as a separate entity, albeit still relying on Eskom from a governance and operations perspective, given that the grid asset has not been transferred yet off of the balance sheet of Eskom onto that of the National Transmission Company of South Africa. And we also see that Eskom now itself, or the government at least, wants to become a participant in the renewable energy space, in that it would also have to compete and bid against private players for access to the grid, for participation in renewable projects. And you know, of course, we've seen in the past what happens when new state-owned entities begin to compete there. They often can't keep up with the private sector. Have we found the right regulatory and policy notes that excites investors?
I think from obviously the establishment of the new transmission company in South Africa is a very important step in strengthening the transmission system. It creates a more focused entity that's really responsible for grid planning and grid expansion. And what is critical then, and it's quite a critical element for enabling new energy projects to connect. And obviously alongside that institutional progress, there's also then there is obviously the focus then of ensuring that there's policy certainty around it, and we obviously are seeing policy certainty in looking at grid expansion and the supporting procurement programs around that. So I think that we've seen significant progress in that. Obviously, the remaining question, which really there has been certainty around it, is obviously the transfer of those transmission assets, and obviously as mentioned by the president in his remarks as well.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and your insights this morning. Really, really do appreciate it. And I think we've got a long way to go to get this right. But of course, it's the South African Investment Conference this week. Hopefully we see more investment and money being mobilized this week. Thokozile Zambane is the founder of Kani Development Solutions. It's 8:30. Let's take your latest headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Statistics South Africa has been targeted in a ransomware attack, with hackers claiming to have stolen over 450,000 files. The breach affected a human resources database used for job applications. 5 South African female drug mules have been arrested at Johannesburg's OR Tambo International Airport. Police say the suspects were found with drugs with more than 5 million rand concealed on their bodies on Saturday. And the ANC Eastern Cape leadership is set to meet the party's national leadership at Luthuli House in Johannesburg today to debrief them on the halting of the elective provincial conference over the weekend. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very slow on Beclu interchange this morning, getting south towards Four Ways. It's a crash before Ravonia on the M1 South, so the backlog is pretty extreme. N3 from Limborough Parkside up into Beclu, and the N1 from Allendale territory in Midrand heading south into Beclu for connections towards that crash scene. William Mandela and Republic Road, both heavy into Sandton this morning, and a crash on the M2 westbound at Crown interchange, just pushing traffic back through downtown Joburg, back to around the Benrose area. Very slow as you come into Joburg Central this morning. Durban, another breakdown on the M2 northbound. Again, same spot before Mhlanga, so traffic very quickly pushing back towards the Kwamashu Highway exit. And Cape Town, the N1 and the bottom of Nelson Mandela Boulevard, where it becomes the elevated freeway. Those highways into Cape Town Central very slow. We still think it's the onlooking factor at the big cruise ship. The big MSC Opera arrived early hours this morning. It's a massive cruise ship, 2,500 passengers, plus probably thousands of crew as well on that ship. So it is big. It's right in the harbour, very visible. Everyone inbound on the brakes having a look. Behind that, Marine Drive is quite heavily backed up coming through Parton Island. It is a standout because the rest of the Cape Town area is noticeably lighter traffic flows this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai Bafana taking on Panama once again. They had so many opportunities in that first match. I counted at least 10, 11 of those opportunities. Some brilliant midfield playing, but it's really in that last step or two where they're just not finishing. What changes has been made to the lineup?
Hey, good morning, Oliver, once again. Absolutely. And I think, again, so many opportunities created, but they just didn't take them, right? So we had a brilliant work in the midfield, but that final step or two still missing. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the likes of Lyle Foster. He's the Bafana striker, admitting, yeah, they weren't good on the night in front of goal when they were held to that 1-1 draw by Panama on Friday in Durban. The Burnley forward saying, he couldn't convert, but he remains confident he'll be more clinical. And that's tomorrow when the two sides meet again in Cape Town. Foster expecting a step up in intensity as both teams now know what to expect.
It's normal. Obviously not so close to each other, but I think in the league system you always play two teams. You play a team twice. But obviously, yeah, a challenge. We'll see what will come up on Tuesday, I'm sure. We'll also make different changes going into the game. And yeah, hopefully it's a different one and we can come out on top.
Let's look at cricket action. The Titans batter Keegan Peterson admitted he was more relieved than anything to play a key role in their Cricket South Africa One-Day Cup triumph over the Lions at the Wanderers. Peterson's 90 runs anchored the chase of 248, sealing with one ball to spare as the Pretoria side lifted their first trophy.
As I woke up this morning, this is the picture I saw, and it worked out great for me, for the team, to get this result. After the seesaw of a season we had is massive for this group. Hopefully we take some sort of momentum into this to know that we are good enough to win, not only compete, but to win. So on to next season.
On to golf, and South Africa's Martin Foster claimed his maiden Sunshine Tour title at the DNI Tour Championship in Stellenbosch. He closed with a brilliant 66 to finish 21 under par before an emotional celebration with his father and caddy. Alton van der Merwe and Jaco Prinsloo shared second, while Casey Jarvis was crowned Order of Merit winner. Motorsport, and it's 19-year-old Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli who won the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, becoming the youngest ever leader of the drivers' standings. He finished over 13 seconds clear of Oscar Piastri. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen finished 8th, admitting he's beyond frustrated with the new regulations, even hinting at a possible retirement. And finally, tennis, Yannick Sinner has underlined his dominance on hard court, beating Jiri Lehechka 6-4, 6-4 to win the Miami Open and complete the coveted Sunshine Double, adding the Florida title to his Indian Wells crown. That's your sport. We'll be serving it up some more with John Herika around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And Ntaleng is back with the business update in this hour. Ntaleng, were you also in Cape Town for Jazz Fest?
Unfortunately, I wasn't. I was working, Oliver.
Oh, okay. Did you see how nice it was? Everyone else enjoying and having fun there.
Without me, do you understand?
Hey, tell us about NUMSA.
So what we're seeing is the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa coming out strongly against Glencore Merafe and Samancor Chrome, accusing them of pushing ahead with retrenchments while negotiating a discounted electricity tariff with Eskom. Now, at the center of the dispute is a proposed 62 cents per kilowatt hour tariff, roughly half of what smelters were paying a year ago. And this is aimed at bringing dozens of idle operations back online. But the agreement still needs sign-off from the energy regulator, NERSA, with conditions attached that companies argue could make operations unviable. Now, NUMSA has warned it will resist any job cuts if firms benefit from the lower tariff, calling on employers to withdraw retrenchment processes.
Hey, let's talk about the Competition Commission giving expansion to DHL, or at least clearing the path for that. What's DHL looking to do?
So DHL is generally looking to expand its operations within the sub-Saharan African region, kicking things off within South Africa. And the CompCom has approved its acquisition of Vital Distribution Solutions, Staffing Logistics, and Vital Fleet without conditions. The deal will see DHL strengthen its transport, warehousing, and distribution capabilities, adding services such as fleet management and staffing to its existing logistics offering. Now, the CompCom said the transaction is unlikely to lessen competition or raise public interest concerns. The acquisition forms part of DHL's broader strategy to expand its footprint across the continent, following plans to invest about 300 million euros or 5.8 billion rand in the region over the next 5 years.
Yeah, well, there's still some space in the last mile delivery space to partner up with giant players like DHL in the South African space. I wonder whether or not they're closing up that last mile gap. But it is 20 minutes before the markets open. What company news are you expecting today?
So not much company news, Oliver, as it's a relatively quiet few days ahead of the Easter break, but attention will turn to Pepkor, which is hosting a capital markets day with traders watching closely for any updates on the group's strategy and performance. Shifting focus to currencies, the rand is steady against international pairs at 17.07 to the dollar, 22.65 to the pound, and 19.65 to the euro. Then over in commodities, oil ticking higher, up 2% this hour at $115 a barrel. Back to equities, risk is still on the table due to jitters around the war and how that will impact inflation as well as monetary policy moves moving forward. And so futures over on Wall Street are flat and trade in Asia continues to be in negative territory.
Darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. And Darling Lichela there with the business update. I'm taking your calls. Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. The Deputy Minister of Transport will be speaking to us in a short while, and this is on the ongoing collaboration and partnership between the Department of Transport and the South African Council of Churches in ensuring road safety efforts are heightened over travel periods such as the Easter travel period. All of that and more coming up on the other side of this.
Brilliantly taken! Last year, the Proteas women were runners-up in the final of the ICC ODI World Cup against India in front of 1 billion cheering Indian fans.
The new champions of the world, India!
Now Laura and her team take them on home ground with your unwavering support behind them. Watch this unmissable T20 International Series versus India live this April with 2 games in Durban, 2 in Joburg, and 1 in Benoni. Let's get behind the Proteas. Tickets are selling fast. Book today at cricket.co.za. Dare to be unbreakable.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign into the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive an instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep up with your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Traveling over the Easter period is one of the deadliest times to be on South African roads. Road fatality numbers are staggering over the period because of the congestion, but more importantly, just poor driver behavior as a general culture in South Africa. The South African Council of Churches has partnered with the Department of Transport to help mitigate some of the road fatalities that we typically experience over the period? The Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, joins us now. Deputy Minister, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Tell us about this partnership with the South African Council of Churches.
Thank you much. Good morning, Oliver, to you and the listeners. Importantly, of course, the Easter period, as you've rightly pointed out, there's heightened volumes of travel due to the fact that pilgrims go to various destinations for services and worship. And it is in this regard that we deemed it best to engage the South African Council of Churches as part of the broader civil society engagements that we have been having on road safety since 2024, and we have marked some notable decreases due to the collective pooling and sharing of skills and resources across the three spheres of government and these sectors. What we are angling at with the South African Council of Churches is the ability to be able to filter down information to local churches within their network, and secondly, to guide the planning for the purposes of travel to enable three main things, primarily the deployment, which we need to do strategically of our resources in terms of the corridor routes that will be used. On assessment, we'll be able to determine where most of this travel will be. Secondly, is to enable us to go to the points of departure for the purposes of inspections of vehicles and assessment of drivers, as opposed to solely relying on roadblocks. And thirdly is then to be able to know when the modes of transport have been determined, whether it's taxis or buses, to be able to engage with those sector players about their responsibilities on the basis upon which we should be engaging. Now, what we've been doing consistently is the engagements with provinces every week. Now, Minister Creasy has been convening MECs on a weekly basis from the start of December 2024 to be in a position for provinces to plan also correctly and for us to guide. What you will see in this festive season is 850 National Traffic Police deployed to the top 20 priority routes that we have determined for the purposes of this Easter period and the upcoming long weekends as well. So our operations will take us up all the way to May, because we also know that people will be traveling for tourism and other related travels. So the priority routes have been identified, and we will be focusing on secondary routes as well, on the realization that people are decanting to avoid the roadblocks and the operations, because we are wanting to remove unroadworthy vehicles. And lastly is that the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency is having heightened operations on foreign buses and taxis in the country to enable us to take those off the road to ensure they are safe, and take them off the road if they are not in a condition to be on the road, and to enable smooth movement and facilitation at our respective border posts to ease the work that the Border Management Authority, amongst others, will be doing. So in the final analysis, all these efforts are driving towards road safety. We have registered a decline of fatalities and fatal crashes from January 1 to March 15 of 10% and 11% respectively.
Yeah, one can't ignore that part of the issue pertaining to road safety is road signs and road infrastructure. In provinces like Limpopo and Mpumalanga, as well as KwaZulu-Natal, a lot of that had been damaged by weather conditions, heavy rainfalls. Certain road signs have been washed away. Certain key infrastructure points have either been damaged or partially damaged. And that too lends itself to road fatalities and poor driving conditions in South Africa. How much of that has been addressed in this intervention?
Well, there's an ongoing recovery process to respond to the disasters that the country has faced, and we need to do the work we are doing. With Sanral has done assessments in Mpumalanga, and Limpopo is a response, and the Disaster Management Center will obviously guide the recovery processes. But 80% of the fatalities and fatal crashes on South African roads can be attributed to driver behavior. Drinking and driving, overtaking who you're not supposed to be overtaking, speeding, and driver fatigue is one of the things we are encouraging is people to rest every 2 hours or every 200
Yeah. No, Deputy
kilometers.
Minister, I hear all of that, but if I can't see the lines on the road, if I'm driving, if I can't see the slow down sign because it's no longer there, and if I can't see, demarcations because street lights aren't working across dark stretches, for instance, it doesn't matter how well rested I am, I'm still going to find myself in a situation where I could potentially cause an accident. That needs to be addressed with a matter of urgency, particularly on key routes that you've outlined earlier.
There's no suggestion that it's not, and that's why I indicated that you asked about the disasters, and I indicated that the assessments and the work is being done. SANRAL has done assessments on all the road infrastructure. The Disaster Management Center is the lead on the responses that need to be done. So there's no suggestion that that will not be done, and in fact it is ongoing work of recovering road infrastructure generally, repairing signs.
Yeah.
That is amongst others why the Minister of Finance would have given an additional allocation for provincial roads maintenance when we outlined the budget on the recognition that we need to do more work on road infrastructure development.
And how advanced is some of those restoration efforts? I mean, some of them are easier than others, right? I would appreciate that at least, that it's easier to paint road signs, road lines and demarcation lines and certain road signs back up than it is to rebuild an entire road or an entire bridge or whatever the case may be. So when it comes to sort of, let's call it the easy stuff to do, how much of that has been done well, particularly in provinces that are key destination provinces?
Well, we can come back with a detailed report on the work that is being done insofar as road recoveries and infrastructure is concerned, because this is also a three-tier approach. There's national roads, which we are responsible for as national department. Minister Creasy has convened what we now call the SAUDA working group to be able to heighten our interactions with local government on their spend and their responses to the work that is being done. And as soon as that report is readily available, we can come and present it to the public.
Yeah, well, we're going to
But
have
what
to.
I can say is that work is ongoing as we speak now across the provinces that were affected by the disasters, and SANRAL is the lead agency on our responses where it is necessary and required.
Yeah. By the way, there's a zero tolerance policy on bribery of police and traffic officers. What efforts are being done to uproot, let's call them the rotten officials who take bribes, particularly that end up causing fatalities?
Well, we're quite encouraged by how the National Traffic Police and the RTMC, working with the provinces, have conducted themselves in the December period, and the kind of reporting they did on briberies. We continue to work with the law enforcement agencies as part of the intelligence-driven response on that. The other interventions to restore the integrity of the police where it is necessary, because by and large they are doing good work, will be covered in the now finalized review of the National Road Safety Strategy about the kind of resources, including but not limited to body cameras, that we'll be using to ensure that we've got a line of sight of all the operations that are taking place. But you would have seen the reporting that took place over the festive season around reporting on briberies, and that is why, again, we've registered a decline in 2025 in comparison to 2024 year long. We registered a decline of 6.2% in fatalities and 6.4% in fatal crashes. And so what that tells us is that our efforts and interventions working with the traffic law enforcement officers is yielding the kind of results that we want. And so we are encouraged by the fact that the professionalism is being restored. And lastly is that the Department of Public Service and Administration has given us a special dispensation to be able to pay overtime above the prescribed threshold, and we believe that incentivizing through the law is, amongst others, going to act as a deterrent from accepting bribes. And the last point is bribery is a two-way street, and that is the classical case of what corruption is.
Yeah.
Our slogan this year is that it begins with me. And so when a road user offers a bribe, they too are at equal risk to the one as equally to the one that they are offering the bribe to. So our efforts must also extend to public education about the risks of what it means to offer a bribe, whilst we sort out consequence management within our own teams and stop to accept bribes.
Yeah, Minister, thank you so much for that. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, Deputy Minister of Transport. Robburn has your latest in traffic.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still heavy getting through Buccleuch, the N1 south from Allendale, the N3 north from Limbro Park, all heavy into Buccleuch, down to a crash just before the Rivonia exit. That traffic is extremely heavy across all lanes. Coming in from the Ekurhuleni side, delays into Galuli's N12 and R24 routes are all jammed up by a crash just before you get into Galuli's, and that's having a bit of an impact by the look of things, having a look going N3 north through for connections onto the N12 at Galuli's as well. Very heavy still, Benrose in towards central Joburg on the M2. There was a collision up by Crown, which is being cleared, but there looks like a little operation ahead of Crown now, which is holding things up. R21 at Clayville is slow into the roadwork section, that long-term sinkhole problem. If you're on your way to Pretoria out of the airport, looks like a possible additional lane closure in on the weekend. It's got that sort of feel about it. Durban has eased up nicely, with the exception of the N2 going north, a breakdown before Gateway, so from Kwamashu that stays heavy. Cape Town, onlookers of the big cruise ship that's docked in the harbour, very visible, very large ship. The N1 into town slow still from around about Parow area, but N1 City is where you'll pick up that queue. Behind that, Marine Drive and Kuberg Road quite slow getting into the N1 inbound queue, and a little bit of traffic just built on the N2 inbound again towards Mowbray Main, and behind that the M5 from Rondebosch slow to get into the N2. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Give us a call. Send us your WhatsApp voice, and I'm taking your calls on 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's have a listen at some of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, good morning. Can you kindly ask the Deputy Minister why from Mudimule until to Mokopane on an N1 there are no lights? Please, say Loretta Bird.
Good morning, Oliver Dixon and SAFM listeners. What Mchunu is saying is nothing, because he denies everything. Even if you bring a letter with all the details, he denies everything. He shows that he's an old man. Ramaphosa must get rid of him from that position. We don't need him there now. He must go and get old where he must be old, not on the police section. Please, Anonymous.
Morning, Oliver. Oliver, what they are supposed to do is to get rid of that initiative practice. Because what they are good at is to kill and destroy the life of the young boys. It's no more needed. We all know where boys are supposed to go if they want to get circumcised in a good manner and professional and healthy. Thank you, my brother.
Good morning, Oliver. Good morning to your listeners as well. I just want to take this moment to congratulate General Tlhatlhambo Kwanazi on the 5-year extension of his contract. How I wish he was considered on a higher position, specifically on a national level. But anyway, he must keep on doing the good work. Just ready to
Reggie, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Well, there might soon be a acting vacancy for National Commissioner, depending on whether or not the president decides to suspend the National Commissioner, Fani Masimula, on the basis of him being charged and having to undergo a trial. If he does, then the president will have to choose one of the 9 provincial commissioners to act as the National Commissioner. I guess then Tlhatlhambo becomes an option to the president for that. Shorty out in Limpopo. Shorty, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fantastic, Shorty. Go for it. What's on your mind?
Oliver, it is very painful, Oliver, when it comes to initiation school season. We know very well that our boys will not come back. There is likelihood. But I'm from a village called Mafefe in the rural Limpopo, where since I was born, there was no record of a death in initiation school. José Morago is our king there, is the former president of Contralesa. You know, he conducted this initiation school in a proper way because he does not commercialize it. The problem is some of our traditional leaders are commercializing our culture. It's a problem because in our village in Mafefe, we skip 2 years, 3 years without initiation school. After the 4th year, that is where the Hosi can initiate the initiation school. So I just want to appeal to the Minister of Coxta to rob in José Morago to Vijani to be part of this issue, that initiation school. They can solve this issue because he's got experience. Since I was born, Oliver, we have never recorded a death in Mafefe, and we conduct our culture in a proper manner. In the way the Hosi, I bet with you, Oliver, if a minister can rob in José Morago, this problem is going to be reduced, and they're going to have an everlasting solution to this problem of initiation school, because we can't always lose our children. When it's season, initiation season, we know very well that there is likely some of our boys will not come back, which is very painful, Oliver.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Shorty, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. And I want to bring you this breaking news. Thank you so much, Shorty. I want to bring you this breaking news that's just come in. The High Court in Gauteng, the Johannesburg North High Court, has handed down judgment this morning in the application by former Presidents Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki for the chairperson of the Gampepe inquiry, Sisi Gampepe, to be removed from the commission following her refusal to recuse herself from the commission. You remember that the arguments that were made by President Zuma and President Mbeki is that Justice Gampepe is conflicted and therefore cannot preside over that. Well, the High Court has dismissed that application and extensively written in a 24-page judgment saying that the first and second respondents' application is being dismissed. And the applicant's prayer for punitive or personal costs against the first respondent, which is the commissioner, has been refused. They were unsuccessful. I guess the inquiry into the TRC cases continues with Commissioner Gampepe as the commissioner of that inquiry. Well, that brings us to the end of today's broadcast here on The Morning Brief. It's been fantastic being with you. I'm with you again tomorrow for the last time. Again, don't be surprised, for the last time. And then that brings my time with SAFM to an end. It's been fun with you, of course, always is. It's 9 o'clock. Let's take your latest news bulletin.
In our top stories, Stats SA confirms cyber attack and 5 suspected drug mules arrested at OR Tambo International. Good morning. Statistics South Africa has been targeted in a ransomware attack, with hackers claiming to have stolen over 450,000 files. The breach affected a human resources database used for job applications. Stats SA says it's working with authorities and will notify the information regulator.